Chapter 27:41. I really don't understand what you people are thinking. Ruan Qingshuang said, It's clearly a simple matter, but you want to make it so complicated. Why is that? Tao Yinan was stunned. Simple matter? Miss Ruan, I don't know what simple matter you're talking about. The 7 great families' struggle for power and profit is a simple matter in your mouth? Then what is complicated? Hey, these words are really funny. Ruan Qingshuang frowned. Power and profit? Could it be that your Tao family is such a big family and you still lack these things? Why do you still pursue them? This is something that has no end. Tao Yinan said, Do you know what it is that has no end? There is no end to it. This is something that everyone is desperately pursuing. Don't you know that? Since you know it's endless, why pursue it? Ruan Qingshuang said, Those who are content are happy. You people have everything, but you don't know how to be content. Instead, the more you have, the less happy you are. Miss Ruan's words are really chicken soup for the soul. Tao Yinan shook her head disdainfully, but my happiness is built on the pursuit of power. Ruan Qingshuang sighed helplessly. She really didn't understand. Why was that? I don't know what you're thinking. When the time comes, I know what I should do. Tao Yinan said, Some things, if I don't fight for it, I can't get it. I can only get it by fighting for it. If I go with the flow, I will be used by others. I will be screwed by others. I will be pushed down by others. This is the tragedy of a big family. Ruan Qingshuang really didn't understand. She didn't grow up in that kind of environment. She couldn't understand all of this. For Ruan Qingshuang, family should be united and friendly. But she didn't know that in the face of the huge temptation of money, family was vulnerable. Even family wasn't important. Betrayal didn't depend on how loyal a person was. It depended on how big the temptation was. In ancient times, even the emperor's sons dared to rebel, let alone his brothers. Wasn't it because the temptation was too great? It was the same for these big clans. Everyone was envious of the benefits. After seeing all this, people would rush forward regardless of their own safety, wanting to obtain it regardless of anything. Only by obtaining these things would people's hearts be at peace. In a situation where there was nothing, anyone could have nothing, but when there was something, everyone would want to take everything for themselves. Those who could share trials and tribulations but not share blessings did not only exist among brothers and sisters, but also among parents and children. Do you know how many times the sculpture has tried to kill me? Tao Yinan said, He's my brother. I've had to endure his schemes since I was young. He's the eldest son and the eldest grandson. He's born with special privileges. That's why I have to tolerate him. Seeing Tao Yinan's expression, Ruan Qingshuang really felt sorry for her. I've endured it time and time again. I've used my own methods to avoid him, but he still won't let me go. Tao Yinan said, He directly ordered his subordinates to attack me. If I hadn't been prepared, I would have died at the bottom of the sea. Maybe he was forced to do it. Ruan Qingshuang said. I was forced to do it. Tao Yinan angrily rebuked. He was afraid that my existence would affect his position in the clan. That's all. I don't want to compete with him for anything. He still thinks that I will compete with him. He wants me dead. Only when I'm dead can he relax. Ruan Qingshuang shook her head. Sad, pitiful. Although I don't know why your relationship has become like this, Ruan Qingshuang said, but I feel that since you're brother and sister, you can still abandon all the hatred in your heart. It's too late. Tao Yinan said, He's already dead. Ruan Qingshuang helplessly shook her head. It's already very unfortunate that this happened because of your own fight. Why do you have to involve the Zhang family? Tao Yinan smiled. Isn't it because of the Zhang family? If Tao Zhu didn't take credit for this matter, I wouldn't have wanted to kill him. Now the Zhang family doesn't want to pursue anything anymore. They just want to go back and start their lives anew. Ruan Qingshuang said. Is that possible? Tao Yinan sneered. Miss Ruan, don't joke with me anymore. Ruan Qingshuang was very convinced. their hatred with Tao Zhu has been resolved. They won't do anything else. You think the Zhang family won't retaliate? Ha ha ha, that's impossible. If they really won't retaliate, I wouldn't have to spend so much effort to eliminate them. Tao Yinan said, it's because once they rise, they will make our Tao family die without a burial place. That's why I have to eliminate them. Ruan Qingxuang helplessly shook her head. When will this hatred end? Then what result do you want? Ruan Qingxuang said, your brother is already dead. Everything in the Tao family is yours in the future. What else do you want? I also want both Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue to die. Tao Yinan's eyes were filled with a thick murderous aura. Only when they are all dead can I rest easy. Ruan Qingxuang's face was filled with disbelief. How could there be such a person in the world? Must you kill them all quickly? Ruan Qingxuang asked. Tao Yinan nodded. We must kill them all. What do you plan to do? Ruan Qingxuang said, do you think you can get the result you want by using me? Of course. Tao Yinan said, as long as you are in my hands, I can get any result I want. Ruan Qingxuang frowned, puzzled. Do you think Su Yun cares more about your life or the lives of the Jiang siblings? Tao Yinan smiled slightly, full of evil. In my opinion, Su Yun's relationship with Miss Ruan is closer, and his feelings for Miss Ruan are longer. Ruan Qingxuang suddenly understood, her face full of shock. Although Su Yun is a person who values friendship and righteousness, he hasn't known the Jiang siblings for long. Tao Yinan said, if only their deaths can save the woman he loves, I believe he will consider it carefully. Are you crazy? Ruan Qingxuang glared. Of course not. Tao Yinan still had a smile on her face. It's because I know it very well in my heart that I can be so clear. Ruan Qingxuang shook her head. No, you can't let Su Yun make this choice. It's too difficult. Tao Yinan said, but this is the easiest way for me. Besides, I don't think Su Yun will think this is a difficult choice. You are really unreasonable. Ruan Qingxuang said, you should give up. Su Yun is not the kind of person who betrays his friends. People will not betray their friends if they are not forced to a certain point. I am not forced to a desperate situation, and I will not plan to get rid of my own brother. Tao Yinan said, but when people are forced to a desperate situation, they can do anything. I believe Su Yun is the same. No. He is different from others. Ruan Qingxuang said. Tao Yinan snorted. She was still confident in her plan. I don't think he is different from others. If he is really different from others, then you can only blame yourself for being unlucky. I will kill you. Ruan Qingxuang was stunned. At this moment, she was indeed a little flustered. But this was all in a flash. Soon, Ruan Qingxuang recovered her calmness. Then you can kill me now. There is no need to continue to wait. Tao Yinan looked at Ruan Qingxuang with a little surprise. There is such a woman in the world who is so infatuated? Miss Ruan, are you worth it? In order to not make things difficult for Su Yun, you would rather choose to die? Tao Yinan said, I really don't understand you. If a man will hesitate to save you, is there a need for you to die for him? This is my business. You don't need to ask. Ruan Qingxuang said, you can do it. You really think I am stupid? Tao Yinan shook her head. The more you do this, the more important you are in Su Yun's heart. You said it yourself. He is a person who is affectionate and righteous. Ruan Qingxuang was stunned. I believe that a person who is affectionate and righteous will never watch his woman suffer and die. Tao Yinan said, thank you, Miss Ruan. You have made me more certain that my judgment is correct. I made the right bet. You are wrong. Right or wrong, I believe it will be clear soon. Tao Yinan said coldly, don't make unnecessary struggles. Chapter 2742. Seeing Tao Yinan's confidence, Ruan Qingxuang couldn't help shaking her head. You think this way because you don't know Su Yun at all. The Su Yun you think you know is not the real Su Yun at all. I don't care whether he is the real Su Yun or not. I only know that he cares about you. That alone is enough. Tao Yinan wasn't in the mood to argue with Ruan Qingxuang. Ruan Qingxuang knew that Su Yun would definitely come to her after seeing the note left by the other party. She knew Su Yun and knew that Su Yun would definitely show up. Moreover, Su Yun would definitely go alone for her safety. There was no doubt about that. But at the same time, she also firmly believed that Su Yun wouldn't agree to the other party's request. From the beginning, when Su Yun put the Zhang family's affairs on himself, he couldn't push Zhang Hong and Zhang Zishu out again. Once he took on the responsibility, Su Yun wouldn't let it go. This was the real Su Yun. This was the Su Yun that Ruan Qingxuang knew. Tao Yinan couldn't understand this. Tao Yinan only thought that Su Yun cared about Ruan Qingxuang and that the lives of the Zhang siblings were far less important than that of Ruan Qingxuang in Su Yun's eyes. This idea was right, but it was a pity that Su Yun wasn't that kind of person. Su Yun couldn't use other people's lives to exchange for the lives of the people he cared about. If he did that, then he wouldn't be the Su Yun that Ruan Qingxuang knew. Blackwater didn't say anything. He was actually very worried about Su Yun. When he fought with Su Yun on Blue Island, he used almost 80% of his strength. That was why he was barely able to resist Su Yun's attacks. Because his plan was to lose, he couldn't use his full strength. However, he didn't expect Jin Guai to appear, which made things even simpler. If he could barely block Su Yun with 80% of his power, then he would need to use at least 90% of his power to counterattack. If he wanted to completely defeat Su Yun, then he would need to use 100% of his power. This was out of Blackwater's expectation. Although Blackwater hadn't returned to Huaxia for many years, he was very clear about the strength of the young people in Huaxia's underground world. The young people of today are a far cry from the people of 15 to 20 years ago. Blackwater had broken through the bottleneck of a super expert when he was 18 years old. Although he was considered a genius at that time, he was not the only one. There were many such geniuses as long as they were willing to endure hardships. The young people of today who could break through to the super expert level in their 20s were already considered rare. 20 years ago, when Blackwater looked at the underground world, there were many experts as far as the eye could see. The 5 war gods were very impressive. Now, 20 years had passed. If the 5 war gods didn't want to retire, they would still be able to call the wind and summon the rain in today's underground world. Because in the past 20 years, there was no newcomer who could compete with them. Although his strength was still a bit lacking compared to the 5 war gods, he dared to say that there were few people in Huaxia's underground world who were stronger than him. This confidence wasn't Blackwater's self-righteousness, but a fact. Nowadays, there was no one whose strength was close to the Sky Xian level. It could be said that there were still those who could shake the world 20 years ago. Therefore, Blackwater couldn't believe that he could meet a young man who could arm wrestle with him. Now, what made Blackwater feel uneasy was Su Yun's strength. He knew that he had only used 80% of his power. Then what about Su Yun? Did he go all out? Or was it that Su Yun had only used 80 or 90% of his power? What if Su Yun had only used 60 or 70% of his power? Then Blackwater didn't have the confidence to win. On this point, Blackwater was wrong about Su Yun. It was already amazing that a young man in his 20s could reach the Sky Xian realm. After all, even in their era, it was already considered a genius to be able to break through the Sky Xian realm in their 20s. Talent and hard work must be taken out in order to have a perfect foothold in this underground world. Neither could be missing. There were too few people who could reach this step. What are you thinking? Tao Yinan seemed to see Blackwater's faint worry. He's just a young man. What are you worried about? Blackwater thought, he's not someone from an ordinary place, so he's definitely not as easy to deal with as we thought. You've seen what happened last time. To be able to arrange so many experts to directly defeat the experts of the 6 great clans, what kind of strength is this? No matter how strong they are, right now, he's just one person to us. Tao Yinan said, you're an expert of the 5th level of the Sky Xian realm. No matter how strong he is, can he be as strong as you? Blackwater was silent. Don't tell me you don't even have this little bit of confidence. Tao Yinan said, You're someone who can be compared to the 5 war gods. Blackwater shook his head. That's just a false reputation. How can I be compared to the 5 war gods? At most, when facing the 5 war gods, I won't be defeated in an instant. Don't belittle yourself. Tao Yinan said, Take out your confidence. After all, you're not facing the 5 war gods. Perhaps this was the only thing that could make Blackwater feel comforted. If I had to face the 5 war gods, my head would have already been separated from my body. How can I continue to work with you? Blackwater said, Although the opponent is young, I don't dare to lower my guard. Any carelessness can cause me to die without a burial ground. Tao Yinan was somewhat displeased. She didn't want Blackwater to express his lack of confidence in front of Ruan Qingxuang. This would make the other party confident. You guys are also very clear about the risks of doing this. Ruan Qingxuang said, I hope you guys can consider it carefully. The people who did bad things to the Zhang clan have already been punished. Zhang Zixue and Zhang Hong's hatred has also been avenged. If you don't provoke them, they won't make things difficult for you. This is such a simple logic. Don't joke with us. Tao Yinan rejected Ruan Qingxuang's good intentions. I'm very clear about what I should do. Ruan Qingxuang could only use the word hopeless to describe this person in front of him. When I, Tao Yinan, do something, if I don't do it, I won't do it. If I do, I will do it to the extreme and eliminate all future troubles. Tao Yinan said coldly, Otherwise, why do you think I didn't do it earlier? This person had already made up her mind. Miss Tao, after this matter is over, how are you going to explain it after going back? Blackwater suddenly asked such a question. First, solve this matter. As for the rest, I naturally have my own arrangements. Tao Yinan said, Don't worry. You will benefit a lot. I will give you what I promised you. Blackwater smiled bitterly, but if you don't give me a clear answer, I won't feel at ease. What? Are you suspecting that I will burn the bridge after crossing it? Tao Yinan said, You don't have to worry. With your strength, what can I do to you? Right. Sometimes this place is more terrifying than force. Blackwater pointed to his temple. I chose to cooperate with you because I believe in this place of yours. Tao Yinan chuckled. Yes, it seems that you have changed your mind very quickly. You know who to cooperate with to find a way out. Even if there is a way out, it must be a clear way out, Blackwater said. Only a path that can be seen can be taken with certainty. Tao Yinan nodded. That's right. I will show you a clear path. After the Zhang family's matter is dealt with, I will tell you clearly. With your words, I am more or less relieved, Blackwater said. Ruan Qingxuang could not stand these people's perverted mentality. You will not succeed. You will never succeed. At that moment, the dazzling headlights of a car in the distance appeared. Ruan Qingxuang's heart skipped a beat. Blackwater suddenly stood up vigilantly. Tao Yinan sneered in her heart. She knew that it was finally here. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. She really wanted to see the surprised expression on Su Yun's face when he saw her. She was very curious. She was very curious. The car drove over without hesitation. In this season, at this time, this place, no one would come out to wander around. When the black Qian stopped completely, Ruan Qingxuang was very sure of the license plate number. Her heart was suddenly in her mouth. At that moment, she really hoped that everyone in the car would come out. In that case, Su Yun would not be in danger, and they would definitely win. However, at that moment, Tao Yinan placed a sharp dagger in her hand on Ruan Qingxuang's neck. She knew that the people in the car could clearly see the dangerous weapon in her hand. Chapter 2743. Su Yun stopped the car neatly, opened the door, and walked out. Although Tao Yinan was confident, when she saw Su Yun get out of the car, her heart still skipped a beat. Su Yun's innate powerful aura almost shook Blackwater, let alone Tao Yinan. The words that Tao Inan had prepared to say to him were stuck in her throat like a fish bone. Why are you so stupid? You really came here alone? Ruan Qingxuang said with heartache. Su Yun walked into such a blatant trap without hesitation. Su Yun smiled with relief. Ruan Qingxuang was not hurt at all. That was good. This is my territory. Even if I came here alone, so what? Su Yun's answer was domineering. What can they do to me? Mr. Su Yun is a little too conceited. Tao Inan was a little unhappy when she heard Su Yun's unbridled tone. Su Yun looked Tao Inan up and down. Did you come back to life? Tao Inan did not expect Su Yun to say such a word. All the words that she had planned were all messed up by Su Yun. To be honest, when Jie Ji said that you were dead, I didn't believe it. Su Yun said, but I believed it later because you have a ruthless brother. But now that I think about it carefully, he really can't kill you. It was because the same blood flowed in their veins. If the elder brother was cruel and merciless, the younger sister would naturally not be a gentle and refined person. They say that women are the most vicious. It seems that when a woman is vicious, no one can compare to her. Thank you for your praise, Mr. Su. I didn't expect to hear it from you. Tao Inan said, but now, it's proven that I'm really more capable than my brother. Su Yun waved his hand. That's hard to say. It's not certain whether you're more capable or not. But being vicious and merciless is even better. Tao Inan smiled. Could it be that Mr. Su only has one word to praise me? You're the one who survived today. Other than having a little bit of luck, you found a dog that can betray its master at any time. Su Yun said, that's why you can laugh until now. Blackwater did not respond to Su Yun's provocation. As an expert, he was well aware of Su Yun's intentions. Su Yun wanted to infuriate him. As long as he infuriated him, Su Yun would be able to seize the initiative. Blackwater was well aware of all this. Controlling one's emotions would have a huge impact on a battle between experts. Now, no matter what Su Yun wanted to say, Blackwater wouldn't have any reaction. Let him say whatever he wanted. Let him mock and humiliate Blackwater. Although I want to say something for Blackwater, I have to admit that what Mr. Su said is true. Tao Inan said, but this shows that Blackwater is a wise man who understands the situation. He knows very well that he can get what kind of status and benefits from what kind of people he follows. It's more cost-effective for him to work for me in the future than to help Tao Inan. What do you think, Blackwater? Yes. Blackwater didn't think too much about this. He didn't want to talk nonsense with Tao Inan. Even if Tao Inan called him a dog, he didn't care. If he was really a dog, then Tao Inan would be a dog. With this mentality, Blackwater could comfort himself very quickly. Mr. Su, tell me your conditions. Besides Miss Ruan, I can give you a lot of things. Tao Inan said, as long as you agree to my request, no matter what kind of conditions you put forward, I can promise you unconditionally. Su Yun raised his eyebrows and said, you want to talk about cooperation? Well, in order to show your sincerity, promise me one thing first. No problem. Tao Inan didn't even think about it. Kill Blackwater as a gift from you at the beginning of our cooperation, Su Yun said. Blackwater was stunned. He thought that Su Yun was really ruthless. He wanted to kill him directly. Mr. Su, if I can agree to your conditions, I won't hesitate. Tao Inan said, but you're forcing me to do something I don't want to do. Miss Tao, you're too ambitious. Aren't you afraid that your people will rebel against you after hearing this? Su Yun asked. Tao Inan smiled confidently. He doesn't dare. That's not necessarily true. Su Yun finished and glanced at Blackwater. Am I right? Blackwater finally couldn't help but say, you really don't need to provoke me. I'm not provoking you. I'm just stating a fact. Su Yun said, if there are greater benefits now, I believe you will consider it, right? Blackwater was speechless. No one will give him a higher bargaining chip than me. So, Mr. Su, don't worry. You don't have to worry about me being betrayed, Tao Inan said calmly. She seemed to be very confident in herself. Su Yun pretended to be surprised. You've even betrayed yourself. Miss Tao, you're really going all out. That's my business. You don't have to worry about it. Tao Yinan said, I invited you here today just to give you a chance to cooperate. Su Yun said, say it. You can't agree with them. Ruan Qingxuang denied it before Tao Yinan could speak. Tao Yinan was slightly angry. Miss Ruan, if you don't want your beautiful face to be scratched, don't interrupt. Don't forget that you're still in my hands. If you dare to hurt her, I won't consider cooperating with you. I guarantee that you won't be able to leave Qingdao alive, Su Yun scolded impolitely. Who gave you that confidence? Tao Yinan retorted, you don't really think that the people around me are just for show, do you? Tao Yinan was confident in Blackwater's strength. Su Yun glanced at Blackwater, even if you have people around you, I'll still crush you. Su Yun didn't want to back down, you can trust me on this. Tao Yinan frowned and didn't continue on this topic, I just need you to give me the heads of the Jiang siblings. Su Yun didn't even look at Tao Yinan. As long as you give me their lives, we can talk about anything. Tao Yinan said, Miss Ruan will return to your side unscathed. You can also name a price. I believe that the Tao family can afford this sum of money. Even your Sky Entertainment Group will take it seriously. Su Yun laughed. Unfortunately, even if Sky Entertainment Group will be interested in it, I, Su Yun, won't be interested in it. So you're ready to ask for an exorbitant price? Tao Yinan said, then I'll take it as a deal. That's your problem. It has nothing to do with me. Su Yun, I just want you to let them go. It's that simple. Tao Yinan frowned. Mr. Su, did you not understand what I said just now, or did you not understand it? Is it because I spent too little time in Huaxia that I have a problem expressing myself? If Mr. Su has misunderstood, it doesn't matter. I can still explain. What I mean is that I will only release Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue if you put their lives in front of me. Is that clear enough? The corners of Su Yun's mouth curled up into a sneer. You've made it very clear. If that's the case, Mr. Su has also understood. Tao Yinan said, then we have a happy agreement, right? This might be difficult to be happy. Su Yun, I didn't say I would agree. Do you have any other choice? Tao Yinan said, does Mr. Su think that Miss Ruan's life is less important than Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue's? Ruan Qingxuang shouted, are you done? Is this fun? Miss Ruan, the knife might accidentally cut your face. Tao Yinan was starting to get impatient. Tao Yinan, don't go too far. Su Yun, if you go too far, it won't do you any good. I'm just asking you, is Miss Ruan's life less important than Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue's? Tao Yinan said, you only need to answer yes or no. No. A smile appeared on Tao Yinan's face again. That's good, that's good. That means that Mr. Su isn't stupid at all. He knows that the Zhang family, a declining family, is useless. It's not worth your help. Su Yun was expressionless. Then you're wrong. The more the Zhang family declines, the more I want to help them. I'm just like this. I can't change it. Su Yun, are you refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit? Tao Yinan turned hostile and scolded. So what? Su Yun didn't care at all. Chapter 2744. Miss Tao, I don't think there's any need for us to continue this conversation, Blackwater said. I'll solve the problem in my own way. Of course, Tao Yinan said. Tao Yinan said, but I still admire Mr. Su. I don't want to ruin our friendship because of this. Miss Tao, you think too much. I'm afraid there's no friendship between us, Su Yun said. I feel nothing but disgust for Miss Tao. Tao Yinan's expression changed. Mr. Su, that's too much. It's okay, Su Yun said indifferently. With regards to Su Yun's arrogance and unreasonableness, or rather his lack of confidence, Tao Yinan really couldn't understand where his courage came from. Tao Yinan adjusted her emotions. Su Yun, Can't you see that I'm giving you a chance? I'm not begging you to do anything. Su Yun laughed. He truly found it laughable from the bottom of his heart. Don't tell me you really think you're 100% confident? What else? You know how powerful black water is, Tao Yinan said. Tao Yinan said, in the current underground world, there are many people who know of black water, but how many people know of you, Su Yun? Su Yun really didn't like hearing these words. Not to mention now, even in the past, his reputation as Flame Dragon had already resounded throughout the underground world. Okay. It was a pity that those who knew about Su Yun's identity were all dead, except for his friends and family. Black water gave you the idea of using me to deal with Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue, Su Yun said. Tao Yinan, why would a ruthless person like you give me a chance? If black water was 100% sure that he could kill me, why would you do this? Isn't this a waste of time? The matter was simple. Su Yun said it out loud. If black water was sure, he wouldn't have wasted his breath. The two of them could have fought directly. As long as he could get rid of Su Yun, the rest of the people would be no match for him. At that time, black water would be able to cover the sky with one hand. He could easily get everything done. Because black water wasn't 100% sure, he gave Tao Yinan such an idea and let Su Yun make the choice. It was all because of black water's lack of confidence. Of course, black water wouldn't say that to Tao Yinan. He just said that he thought it would be easier to solve the problem. It was more interesting to let their own people fight their own people. That was why Tao Yinan agreed to black water's suggestion. Now that Su Yun said this, Tao Yinan suddenly realized that this matter was too strange. It seems like Blackwater didn't have the confidence to win. But was it necessary? He was an expert at the 5th level of the Earth Profound Realm, so why would he care about these small details? Blackwater, is it necessary? Tao Yinan looked at Blackwater. Blackwater frowned. Su Yun, you underestimate me. I don't think I need to be so vigilant against you. There are some things that don't need to be explained. Su Yun said, people with discerning eyes can see the truth. I'm not blind, and I believe your new master is not blind either. Blackwater's eyes had a murderous look. Brother, there are some things that have to be done sooner or later. Su Yun smiled. You're a person who steers according to the wind. But I believe you should know that your new master is a person who will get rid of the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness. The two of you are together. It's like a turtle looking for a turtle, a dead fish looking for a rotten shrimp. Su Yun's words had obviously provoked the anger in their hearts. Especially Blackwater. After being exposed, he didn't have any face left. He couldn't afford to lose face. There are some things that should be done and some things that shouldn't be done. It's not my place to say. Su Yun said, you know it better than me. It's like some people should be trusted and some people shouldn't be trusted. Don't waste your breath. Blackwater said, I believe Miss Tao won't be stupid enough to believe you. Su Yun didn't pay attention to Blackwater. Instead, he looked at Tao Yinan. From what he said, you'll be stupid enough to believe him. Tao Yinan didn't want to believe anyone's words now. At this moment, she just wanted to be alone. Whether Blackwater was a trustworthy person or not, she already had her own judgment. She didn't need Su Yun to say it. But now that Su Yun had pointed it out, the pretense between Tao Yinan and Blackwater was completely torn apart. After the pretense was torn apart, it was hard to say what kind of way Tao Yinan and Blackwater could treat each other. People's hearts were always so hard to see and understand. Take Blackwater for example. After following Tao Zhu for so many years, he had completely gained Tao Zhu's trust. However, he suddenly betrayed Tao Zhu. Although he didn't really do any harm to Tao Zhu, he still led Tao Zhu step by step into the abyss. When Tao Zhu fell into the trap that he and Tao Yinan had designed, he would never be able to climb out of it again. Do you know what's the saddest thing? The saddest thing is when there's no trust between people, but they're still tied together. Su Yun said, that kind of feeling is really disgusting. Miss Tao, right? Tao Yinan couldn't say a word because Su Yun was right. Now that she saw Blackwater's face, she really felt a little unhappy. But even if I'm unhappy and disgusted, I still have to do what needs to be done. Su Yun said in distress. It's better to fall out with him now than to fall out with him after we're done. Blackwater, I don't think it's necessary to talk to him anymore. Tao Enan's face changed. You can deal with him directly. Blackwater also knew that there was nothing to talk about. Since you don't want to exchange her, don't blame me for being ruthless. Tao Enan said, Today, not only you will die, but your woman will also die. Su Yun suddenly became vigilant. As long as Tao Enan made a move, he would not hesitate to take action. I advise you to think about it when you're on the road to the netherworld. Is it worth it for you to do this? Tao Enan snorted. The dagger in her hand suddenly reflected a cold light under the moonlight. There was a murderous aura. Su Yun also took action at the same time. He absolutely couldn't let Tao Enan hurt Ruan Qingxuang. Just as Su Yun took action, Blackwater also took action. Although Wolf and Bei were not good people in wolf collusion, everyone was doing it for their own benefit. But because of the benefit, if Wolf had a problem, Bei would help him think of a solution. And if Bei was in danger, Wolf would help him get out of danger. When Tao Enan was in danger, Blackwater naturally stepped forward bravely. What he had to face was not only taking Su Yun's life, but he also had to protect Tao Enan's safety. Even if everything was settled, Tao Enan's death meant that everything Blackwater had done had lost its meaning. So when Su Yun risked his life to protect Ruan Qingxuang, Blackwater also risked his life to protect Tao Enan. When Su Yun saved Ruan Qingxuang from Tao Enan's dagger, Blackwater also saved Tao Enan from Su Yun's attack range. Otherwise, Su Yun would definitely be able to kill him at the first possible moment. After surviving the danger, Ruan Qingxuang looked at Su Yun with short breath. She didn't expect that Su Yun would choose to take action at this time. It was too dangerous just now. Ruan Qingxuang didn't even have time to see what happened. Tao Enan was the same. In the blink of an eye, the hostage was taken away from her, and she was stopped by Blackwater before she even had a chance to fight back. Su Yun's action was so fast that she almost couldn't judge his speed with the naked eye. Fortunately, Blackwater's speed wasn't slow either. She survived the danger without any danger. Are you crazy? How can you be a match for them if you come alone? Ruan Qingxuang wasn't trying to boost their morale or diminish Su Yun's prestige. She just felt that there were two people on the other side, while Su Yun only had himself. As the saying goes, 2 fists can't fight 4 hands. Ruan Qingxuang's worries weren't unfounded. After all, these 2 people were ruthless. They didn't even let the injured Jie Su go. Such despicable people wouldn't care about anything. If the 2 of them bullied Su Yun would most likely be at a disadvantage. Ruan Qingxuang didn't want Su Yun to be hurt because of her. That would make her feel guilty. Chapter 27:45. Su Yun didn't put Tao Enan in his eyes. As long as Tao Enan didn't hurt Ruan Qingxuang, it was enough. His real opponent was Blackwater. Blackwater was the guy he had to guard against. You're so stupid. You knew it was a trap, but you still came. Ruan Qingxuang said, You didn't come alone, did you? Why are you so stupid? Su Yun only gave Ruan Qingxuang one sentence. No matter what, I won't let you be in any danger. Hearing Su Yun's words, Ruan Qingxuang was already moved. She knew that Su Yun cared about her. He didn't want her to be in any danger. He didn't even want to risk his own life. She was so touched that she couldn't express it. But, you'll be in danger. If you're in danger, everyone else will be in danger. It's not worth it to exchange everyone's danger for my own safety. Ruan Qingxuang kept shaking her head. It's worth it to exchange anything for your safety. Su Yun didn't give Ruan Qingxuang any chance to think, as long as I'm alive. Tao Enan was almost hurt by Su Yun just now. She was naturally furious. You're still in the mood to talk about love at this time. Well, I'll fulfill your wish and let you be a pair of dead mandarin ducks. If you have anything to say, you can talk about it on the road to hell. Tao Yinan, who didn't expect more from Su Yun, said angrily, "Blackwater, do it." Blackwater knew that today's battle was unavoidable. It was a kind of luck that he could meet a worthy opponent in this life. Blackwater had lived for 40 years. He had never fought a battle that he wasn't sure of winning. If his opponent was weak, he would kill him without mercy. If his opponent was strong, he would leave before his opponent was ready. So he had never failed in these years. Every step he took was carefully and frighteningly. That was why he was lucky enough to live until now. For a notorious person in the underground world to live for so long, Blackwater had really created a miracle. "You know very well that I will have my misgivings. I won't be able to focus all my energy to fight you," Su Yun said in a low voice. "That's because of you. I won't be merciful to you because of that." Blackwater sneered. This was an opportunity for him. Su Yun said, "I didn't expect you to show mercy. Taking advantage of others when they're down is what hypocrites like to do. Pray to God then." Blackwater approached Su Yun step by step. Su Yun's eyes were cold to the bone. "It's a pity that I don't believe in God. I only believe in myself." As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yun pushed Ruan Qingxuang behind him. Then, he faced Blackwater head-on and attacked. The two of them had already fought before. Blackwater liked to strike first to gain the upper hand, while Su Yun liked to strike later. That was why Su Yun changed his behavior. It would not be easy to deal with Blackwater if he still used the strategy of attacking second. Only by using variables to win, this was Su Yun's choice of a king. Su Yun was prepared for this, but Blackwater obviously did not adapt to the change in role. He was a typical person who was good at offense and bad at defense. The reason why Blackwater preferred to attack first was that he liked to use offense to make up for the holes in his defense. It was true that the best defense was offense. When a person could use a powerful offense to defeat the opponent, what was the point of defense? Because the opponent could only parry and had no chance to fight back, Blackwater did not care about his weakness in defense. If an NBA game was used as an analogy, Blackwater's offense was super strong. However, this kind of tactic was bound to be accompanied by more mistakes and deficiencies in defense. If offense and defense were on average 50%, then Blackwater's offense accounted for 85% and defense only accounted for 15%. Therefore, even if he was facing a person who was good at defense and whose defense accounted for 60% of his strength, he would still be able to take the initiative and use his powerful attacks to the point that 40% of his opponent's attack power would be useless. And this 60% defense was not enough to resist his 85% offense. This was Blackwater's way of winning. It was a pity that the opponent he faced today was not the same as usual. Blackwater and Su Yun had fought on Blue Island. Su Yun was particular about attacking second, which had high requirements for his defensive ability. When Blackwater used 85% of his offensive ability, Su Yun's defensive ability of 90% or more made it almost impossible for Blackwater to take him down. With the experience of the last fight, Blackwater made a judgment that Su Yun's offensive ability was even less than 10%. In this case, Blackwater's 15-point defense was enough to resist. But what Blackwater did not expect was that Su Yun, who was almost only defending and not attacking a few hours ago, seemed to have changed into a different person. That powerful offensive made Blackwater completely panic for a moment. Su Yun was the kind of person who could use 100% of his offensive ability to attack and 100% of his defensive ability to defend. In Su Yun's world, there was no such thing as balance. There was only one way to do it. Whether it was offense or defense, Su Yun had to do it to the extreme. This was what he had always asked of himself. So when Su Yun faced Blackwater's powerful offensive ability, he was able to resist all of it. And when Su Yun attacked with all his strength, Blackwater was completely stunned. He had never seen a person who prioritized defense be able to make such a smooth attack. Su Yun was the kind of person who could make his defense impregnable and impenetrable, leaving the opponent with no means of attack. And his offense could be unstoppable, toppling mountains and overturning seas, leaving the opponent with no power to resist. When Su Yun's sweeping fist wind tore Blackwater's defense again and again, Blackwater realized that he was gravely mistaken. Su Yun's unexpected attack obviously left Blackwater with no room to fight back. It had only been 3 hours, and Su Yun had changed into a different person. If Blackwater was not sure that they were the same person, he would really suspect that these two people were not brothers. This was not something a person could do, both offense and defense, and could switch modes at will. In other words, this was definitely cheating. Tao Yinan obviously did not expect Su Yun to come out with such a powerful offensive at the beginning, completely suppressing Blackwater. But she still had a chance. Su Yun had to restrain Blackwater, so he had no time to take care of Ruan Qingshuang. Tao Yinan's men were saved by Su Yun because she was too careless. She thought that Su Yun would not dare to act rashly with Blackwater around. But now it seemed that Su Yun was not the kind of person who would resign himself to adversity. So Tao Yinan did not intend to be polite to Ruan Qingshuang anymore. If she did not let Su Yun see some pain, she was afraid that he would not give up so easily. Blackwater, this trash, really disappointed him. He was actually beaten to the point where he couldn't even resist the opponent's sudden attack. All he could do was evade and dodge. Even if Blackwater had the strength, it would be troublesome if he was accidentally injured by Su Yun. After all, there were still those people who had yet to be dealt with. Even if those people's strength was far inferior to Blackwater's, it would be better for Blackwater not to waste too much energy on Jiang Hong. The easiest way to solve the battle was to control Ruan Qingshuang. Then Su Yun would be captured without a fight and be trampled on. Su Yun naturally thought of what Tao Yinan could think of. Of course, Su Yun would not let Tao Yinan get close to Ruan Qingshuang. When Tao Yinan was about to move, Su Yun directly turned around and blocked Tao Yinan in front of him. Tao Yinan was completely defeated by the two swift and fierce moves of the fist technique. Although Ruan Qingshuang's safety was guaranteed, the situation under Su Yun's control was also reversed at this time. Blackwater knew the importance of this opportunity. It was not easy to turn the tables and regain the right to attack. Of course, Blackwater would not miss any opportunity to kill Su Yun. Su Yun's switch was also quite fast. His two fists blocked Blackwater's violent punch, and his feet retreated a few meters before he stopped. Blackwater did not dare to stop for a moment, for fear that he would lose the right to attack again. Without hesitation, he raised his chi and pressed forward. Su Yun did not have time to think. He quickly stood up and faced the attack. The two of them had a 180-degree reversal. Su Yun turned from attack to defense, and Blackwater turned from defense to attack. The fierce confrontation did not stop. Ruan Qingshuang was frightened and dazzled by the scene. She wished that she could be like Lin Guo or Bai Xiaoye, who could help Su Yun at such a critical time and lend Su Yun a hand. Chapter 2746. It was a pity that Ruan Qingshuang couldn't do anything. Instead, she would become a burden to Su Yun. When she realized that she had become Tao Yinan's target, she knew how important she was to Su Yun. As long as she was captured, Su Yun wouldn't be able to resist even if he wanted to. Therefore, she couldn't be manipulated by others. Since she couldn't help Su Yun, she would try her best to take care of herself and not distract Su Yun. This was the only thing Ruan Qingshuang could do. Apart from the endless beach and the never-ending waves, there was nothing else on such a large sandy beach. Ruan Qingshuang was just an ordinary girl who had no strength to truss a chicken, while Tao Yinan was an expert who had started cultivating her mental state since she was 6 years old. So far, she had been a master for 30 years. The gap between the two of them was like heaven and earth. Nothing could make up for this gap. The simplest and most direct way to describe it was that even 100 Ruan Qingshuang wouldn't be Tao Yinan's opponent. On the other hand, Tao Yinan could deal with Ruan Qingshuang with just one finger. With such a huge gap, how could Ruan Qingshuang protect herself? When Blackwater's powerful attack completely suppressed Su Yun's arrogance, Tao Yinan didn't have the mood to appreciate this kind of battle between experts. Even if Blackwater had turned from defense to offense, Tao Yinan didn't want to wait for the result. Once she firmly controlled Ruan Qingshuang, Su Yun wouldn't have any chance to resist. She wouldn't continue to negotiate with Su Yun. She would kill him with her own hands. You don't think that he can help you every time, do you? Tao Yinan sneered as she approached Yuan Qingxuang. Blackwater isn't a lowly person. She won't give Su Yun every chance. Now, Su Yun really didn't have any chance to escape. This was different from when he launched an attack. He could give up the advantage of attacking at any time. Now, the attacker was Blackwater. As long as Blackwater didn't stop, Su Yun wouldn't have the chance to save Yuan Qingxuang. Unless he completely gave up his life and risked being injured by Blackwater's internal force to do something else. But this was meaningless. If he was injured, he would die. If he died, how could Yuan Qingxuang escape? The current situation had forced Su Yun into a desperate situation. He didn't know what else could change the situation. Are you demons? Yuan Qingxuang roared at Tao Yinan. Tao Yinan smiled. I really like the title you gave me. If you want to think of it this way, I can't ask for anything more. You really are incorrigible demons, Yuan Qingxuang said. Then obediently surrender. Tao Yinan Qingxuang walked towards Yuan Qingxuang without any defense. She grabbed Yuan Qingxuang's arm. Tao Yinan Qingxuang was just a weak girl. Even if she racked her brains, she couldn't think of any way that she could hurt her. Unfortunately, Yuan Qingxuang thought of it. The moment Tao Yinan reached out and grabbed Yuan Qingxuang grabbed a handful of sand on the beach as she fell to the ground. Because Tao Yinan Qingxuang wasn't prepared, Yuan Qingxuang's fine sand smashed into her eyes. No matter how strong a person's martial arts was, their eyes couldn't be touched. In the 5,000 years of Huaxia, other than the great sage equal to heaven, Sun Wukong, no one else had eyes that were different from ordinary people. Tao Yinan Qingxuang screamed. That kind of piercing pain was unbearable. Even Yuan Qingxuang was frightened by Tao Yinan's scream. The sand on the beach was very fine. This kind of sand was the second most important marine mineral, second only to oil and gas. It had many uses. One of the main uses was as a raw material for construction, especially for large-scale construction projects. However, because the salt and chloride ions in the sand could corrode the steel, it brought about a safety hazard. Therefore, 10 years ago, the country had strict requirements for sand used for construction. Thinking about it, the salt and chloride ions in the sand could even corrode steel, not to mention human eyes. Human eyes simply couldn't withstand this kind of damned thing. Tao Yinan Qingxuang's eyes felt like they were being pierced by thousands of steel needles. The pain was unbearable. Yuan Qingxuang panicked. She was worried that her actions would hurt someone, but she was also afraid that Tao Yinan would take revenge on her and Su Yun once she regained her senses. Therefore, she had no choice but to grab the sand on the beach and throw it at Tao Yinan. Tao Yinan Qingxuang was in so much pain that she couldn't even open her eyes. Blackwater was obviously distracted by Tao Yinan's situation. Just as Tao Yinan Qingxuang was annoyed, he had to step back to avoid the sand from entering his eyes. Although it was only for a moment, it gave Su Yun a chance. Su Yun quickly stepped forward and pulled Yuan Qingxuang into his arms. He also avoided the sand. Are you okay? Su Yun asked with concern. Yuan Qingxuang shook her head. She couldn't believe that she could escape from Tao Yinan's hands. Moreover, she was lucky. This was simply too inconceivable. Almost everyone had the feeling of a foreign object entering their eyes. Even if it was just an eyelash entering the eyeball, it would be unbearable. If it entered the sand, it would be even more dangerous. If you rubbed it hard, it could hurt the cornea and retina. Tao Yinan Qingxuang didn't know how much sand had entered her eyes, and there wasn't even a bottle of water at the scene. Blackwater didn't dare to attack recklessly. He didn't know how Tao Yinan was doing. Miss Tao, are you okay? Blackwater asked anxiously. I don't need your help. Kill them all right now. I want them dead. Tao Yinan Qingxuang was furious. The pain in her eyes had made her lose her mind completely. She wanted to dig out her eyeballs and wash them clean in the sea. That kind of unbearable torture was unimaginable. Miss Tao, don't do anything stupid. Don't move anymore. You need to go to the hospital now. Blackwater said, otherwise your eyes will be ruined. Go to the hospital? What a joke. Su Yun was still there. How could he let them go to the hospital? Tao Yinan Qingxuang still couldn't open her eyes. She could only rely on her judgment of the sound and shouted at Blackwater, I told you to kill them. Don't you understand? Blackwater frowned. If he could kill me, he would have done it long ago. You don't need to talk nonsense, Su Yun, who was evenly matched with Blackwater, said, Tao Yinan, you've lost. Tao Yinan Qingxuang cursed Blackwater in her heart. She looked up and said, What are you talking about? I've lost? Do you think you've won? Her eyes were swollen by the sand. Ruan Qingxuang felt a little regretful when she saw it. She was too kind. She didn't think that her actions would hurt Tao Yinan so much. Ruan Qingxuang didn't know that Tao Yinan wanted to break her arm the moment she grabbed her. Tao Yinan was sure that Ruan Qingxuang's injury would distract Su Yun. By then, Blackwater would seize the opportunity to take him down. Everything changed in an instant. If it weren't for Ruan Qingxuang's sand, Su Yun might have been lying in a pool of blood. I'm sorry. I really didn't want to hurt you like this. Ruan Qingxuang looked at Tao Yinan blankly. Tao Yinan trembled when she heard her voice. What was she pretending for? How dare she say sorry to her now? If it wasn't for this handful of sand, would she have become like this? Why did you apologize to her? If it weren't for the sand, we would be in a desperate situation. Su Yun said, They won't be merciful. If we're in trouble, the rest of the family won't have a good ending. Su Yun analyzed the situation for Ruan Qingxuang. He told her that if it weren't for the sand, they would be in trouble now. If they were the ones in trouble, Tao Yinan wouldn't be merciful at all. She might have already sent her to hell. Tao Yinan was about to get angry, but the sand in her eyes made her nervous. She couldn't bear it anymore. She couldn't bear it for a minute. Su Yun, if we continue to fight, you can't be 100% sure about who will win. Blackwater said, Why don't we make a gentleman's agreement now? I let you leave, and I let you take away the 3 paramedics in the car. Then you give us a way to live. Without waiting for Su Yun to think, he continued, If you don't agree, then we can continue. But I believe that your energy to take care of Miss Ruan will make you unable to take care of the 3 paramedics. I will kill them first, and then continue to play with you. I promise you, you take her away. Su Yun didn't think about it. Human lives were greater than heaven, let alone 3 lives. Chapter 2747. Even though Su Yun was kind enough to give Tao Yinan a way out, Tao Yinan didn't appreciate it. Now that things had come to this point, she didn't leave any way out for herself. Could Su Yun really let them go? No, it was impossible. Tao Yinan didn't believe that Su Yun would let her leave Hua Xiar alive. Since Su Yun dared to show up here, it meant that he was ready to shed all pretense of cordiality. Since he had shed all pretense of cordiality, how could he let Tao Yinan leave Qingdao alive? Therefore, in today's matter, it was either you die or I die. There was absolutely no reconciliation. How could Blackwater not understand such a simple logic? As long as Su Yun could take Ruan Qingxuang out of the Golden Beach, it was equal to letting the tiger return to the mountain. As the saying went, if the tiger returned to the mountain one day, half of the sky would be dyed red with blood. In Blackwater's eyes, Su Yun was an absolute ferocious tiger. If he had any other way, he would not have made such a compromise. Miss Tao, if you keep delaying, your eyes will. Blackwater really couldn't say it. Once Tao Yinan's eyes were blinded, what could they do even if they won a complete victory today? Blackwater would never go back to the Tao family with Tao Yinan. Even if the Tao family didn't have any capable people, they couldn't let a blind man be their leader. They couldn't let a blind man inherit the whole Tao family in the future. Words like blind eyes but not blind heart could only be heard casually. It was so difficult for a normal person who had eyes and ears everywhere to control such a big family, let alone a blind man. As the saying went, seeing is believing, and hearing is false. It was very difficult to understand the truth of a matter just by listening to other people's words with one's ears. Even if what you saw was not necessarily true, in a big family with many people talking, many things needed to be seen and heard with one's own ears to make a judgment. If Tao Yinan was disabled, would Blackwater have any reason to risk his life for her? Did Blackwater really miss this woman who was 36 years old but still had skin like water? No, obviously he wouldn't. There were so many women in the world. There were so many who were more charming than Tao Yinan. Therefore, Blackwater didn't need to risk her life. If you don't want to be blind for the rest of your life, then get lost as soon as possible, Su Yun said. You still have a chance before I change my mind. If not for Blackwater's extraordinary strength, Su Yun would not have given him this opportunity. In this stalemate, if Su Yun really wanted to defeat Blackwater, he might not be able to suppress the evil spirit in his heart. After experiencing so many outbursts of his inner demons, Su Yun knew very well that this thing was too difficult to control. Every time it erupted, it would cause extremely serious damage to his body. If he lost control, he would also hurt innocent people, and there was a possibility of death at any time. Therefore, Su Yun also wanted to take a step back. He knew in his heart that this was only temporary. Tao Yinan was not reconciled. She was really not reconciled. Su Yun had been lured to the sharp beach by them. The fat duck in his mouth was about to fly away. What she could not accept was that she had actually fallen into the hands of Ruan Qingshuang, who was so weak that she could not even trust a chicken. Sometimes, when things reached an extreme, they would move in the opposite direction. Ruan Qingshuang, who had never known what conspiracy and trickery was, would throw sand to cover her eyes at this time. This was definitely something that a scheming person like Tao Yinan could not imagine. However, because of Ruan Qingshuang's kindness and innocence, Tao Yinan didn't guard against her at all. If Tao Yinan had a little bit of vigilance against Ruan Qingshuang wouldn't have blinded Tao Yinan with sand so easily. Sea sand looks small and smooth. It can be made with a few drops of tears. In fact, it's not so. Sea sand is very harmful to the retina. Su Yun said, "Don't make it difficult for Blackwater. Tao Yinan was not reconciled. He is my servant. He should do whatever I ask him to do. It's not your turn to interrupt. Your servants aren't the kind of people who are loyal to you." Su Yun smiled. "Tao Yinan, I don't need to explain so much to you. Who doesn't know that Blackwater is a slave of 3 surnames? If you become disabled and blind, what do you think you can get from the Tao family?" Tao Yinan was suddenly stunned. She really didn't consider this. "Once you become blind, I'm afraid you can't get anything." Su Yun, "Then you won't be attractive to Blackwater. He won't work for a master with no future. This is why he chose to betray Tao Zhu and come to you." Speaking of this, Su Yun glanced at Blackwater. Although Su Yun's words made Blackwater unhappy, it was the truth after all. Blackwater didn't explain anything. "If you have no future, I believe he won't continue to help you." Su Yun smiled. "Blackwater, am I right?" Blackwater wanted to refute, but then he thought it was pointless to say more. It didn't matter. Tao Yinan was not a fool. She knew what Blackwater was thinking. If Tao Yinan was determined to stay in this stalemate, Blackwater had no choice but to betray her. If Tao Yinan knew how to make a choice and could calm down to save his eyes, he would still stay with her to help her find a way. After all, it was not easy to find a big family like the Tao family to rely on. Blackwater, who was busy running for his life when he was young, also knew how to pursue a peaceful life. After all, he was 40 years old. How many more years could he run for his life? 10 years? 20 years? Then what? A trader like him didn't have the capital to set up his own family. There would definitely be people who would challenge him. Therefore, Blackwater could only rely on these big families. Only these big families could solve his worries. If he worked for them for decades, he could at least get a place to retire. This was a better ending for Blackwater. The reason why he chose to help Tao Yinan was because the fact that they were in cahoots with each other could make them like grasshoppers on a string. When Tao Yinan held the power of the Tao family in her hands, he would really be an important minister who could overturn the imperial court. Blackwater had estimated whether Tao Yinan had the ability to get all this. As long as Tao Jiu died, Tao Yinan would be able to get it. Everyone considered things for their own interests. Blackwater certainly considered his own interests. Otherwise, why would he stand by Tao Yinan's side without hesitation? And Tao Yinan was the same. She was just using him. Both of them knew that, but they didn't directly say it out. If it weren't for me today, you wouldn't have been able to talk things out. Su Yun said, Tao Yinan, I advise you to think it over. You can't see now, but your heart is not blind. You can see clearly who is next to you. Blackwater was silent, waiting for Tao Yinan to speak. Go together. Stay, let her stay. There was nothing more to say, and Tao Yinan didn't need to give any more advice. Blackwater's choice wouldn't change. She knew it clearly. Once Blackwater made a decision, it was meaningless for her to say more. Let's go. Tao Yinan finally gave up. Blackwater breathed a sigh of relief. He had done what he could. There was nothing to say. Su Yun said again at this time, by the way, I advise you to move faster. If you don't see the doctor in time, you may really be disabled. At that time, you will suffer a double loss. Tao Yinan gritted her teeth and said, Don't worry about it. Although the pointy beach was remote, it took less than half an hour to get to the nearest hospital. Of course, I have to worry about it, Su Yun said. I'm afraid that no one in the hospital on Qingdao can help you. There seemed to be no problem with this, but Su Yun's tone, Su Yun's eyes and expression told Tao Yinan that Qingdao couldn't accommodate her at all. She could treat her eyes, but she had to get out of Qingdao. As long as Su Yun brought Ruan Qing Shui back safely, he could kill Tao Yinan and Blackwater without any scruples. Therefore, Su Yun's words implied that if they wanted to live, they had to get out of Qingdao. Don't expect him to be merciful here. Chapter 2748. Tao Yinan was full of hatred, but she didn't say a word. Su Yun was forcing her into a dead end. Su Yun was not that kind of person, but the premise was not to touch his bottom line. Now Tao Yinan not only touched his bottom line, but also directly tore it. Ruan Qingshuang was a person who could never be touched. Since Tao Yinan dared to do such a thing, Su Yun should have let her know how she died on the spot. It was because he was afraid that Ruan Qingshuang would be in danger if she was there. A master like Blackwater could hurt Ruan Qingshuang with a roll of sand. Although Tao Yinan couldn't see, if she wanted to kill Ruan Qingshuang, as long as Blackwater stalled Su Yun, she could kill Ruan Qingshuang by listening to the sound. That was why they had to make concessions to each other. Besides making concessions, Su Yun naturally wouldn't forget to give Tao Yinan some trouble. He couldn't finish it so simply. As long as they separated, Su Yun would take the initiative. At that time, Tao Yinan would be really stupid if she still stayed in Qingdao. Now, Su Yun was telling them to get the hell out of here. He would feel disgusted if they stayed on Guqin Island for even a minute longer. Although it was a temporary solution, as far as the current situation was concerned, Blackwater wouldn't easily make the same mistake again if he wasn't sure. Tao Yinan had no trump card in her hand. How could she fight with Su Yun? Besides, with the medical level of Hua Xia, there were quacks everywhere. If you didn't go to the hospital obediently, the doctor would prescribe you a prescription at any time. In real life, there were too many cases where quacks harmed people. Some of them might be misunderstandings, but there were countless real cases. In addition, the social status of doctors in China was very high. They had a wide social network and a lot of connections. Therefore, even if there was a medical accident, very few victims could get a real apology, explanation, and compensation for their mistakes. It was useless to look for the relevant departments. The relevant departments were really something. Many people were scolding them, but they still kept taking the blame for all kinds of things. It was a given to say that the relevant department was too mysterious. They were a department of people with connections, so as an unrelated person, how could they know about the matters of the department? Of course, they were mysterious. Tao Inan and Blackwater were rich, but how would the doctors know how much money they had? You're not carrying a few sacks of cash anyway. If he went to get his eyes checked, he would find the best doctor, and he would yell and shout because he was rich and overbearing. Then, he would definitely delay the treatment. With just a few casual words, these two people did not know a certain member of the standing committee or a certain secretary. They did not even know a certain mayor or a certain director. Who would want to play with them? People who had no connections at all would not be able to play with people who had a lot of connections. If Su Yun delayed her for 2 or 3 hours, Huaxia's hospital would not be able to cure her. Then, Tao Yinan would quickly get out of Huaxia. Whether she went to Russia or the United States, as long as she was not in Huaxia, it would have nothing to do with him. But at least Su Yun was sure of one thing. As long as Tao Yinan could not be cured in Huaxia, Blackwater would definitely not continue to play with her. It was such a big risk. Even if Blackwater was a fool, he would not take it. When Blackwater could not get what Tao Yinan wanted, he would make a new choice without hesitation while he still had a few decades to be loyal to her. Of course, it was not so easy to change masters. After all, he was notorious. Therefore, Blackwater still took Tao Yinan away from Qingdao at the fastest speed. If he drove fast, it would take 3 or 4 hours from Qingdao to Jibei. Therefore, he could not even go to the provincial hospital. He could only try his best to find a large hospital near Weizi City in 1 or 2 hours. After dealing with this matter, Su Yun could finally put down the burden in his heart. When Blackwater's car was far away, Su Yun quickly carried the 3 unconscious medical staff into his car. It was really dangerous just now, very dangerous. Just as Su Yunqiang was attacking Blackwater, he had almost exhausted all of his physical strength. He had wanted to use his fastest speed to show off his strength to his opponent. However, he did not expect that although Blackwater's defensive ability was weak, he could dodge and move every time with his slight advantage of speed to turn the danger into safety. During this process, Su Yun consumed a lot of physical strength. Therefore, when Blackwater changed from defense to offense, Su Yun was unable to bear it. He was able to hold on just now, but if Blackwater continued to attack like this, then it would be hard to say. Su Yun didn't dare to guarantee that he would be able to last more than 10 moves from Blackwater. It was very dangerous. It was really very dangerous. Of course, these things only needed to be known by Su Yun. He did not need to tell Ruan Qing Shuang. Ruan Qing Shuang would only be more worried if she knew. Moreover, there were so many people at home. What Su Yun could do was to give them enough confidence. Not only to give Ruan Qing Shuang confidence, but also to give confidence to everyone else. Therefore, even if Su Yun was very clear that his strength could not fight against Blackwater, he would not tell anyone. Even if he forced himself to hold on, he would hold on. At least his own people had absolute confidence in him, and Blackwater was also full of fear of him. Su Yun felt that it was enough to be able to do this. Although he still left a future trouble for the Jiang family, he believed that it would not cause them too much trouble. If the Tao family had a little bit of brains, they would not let them continue to play. As the person in charge, Tao Zhu had already been played to death. How could the Tao family, a big family, deal with 2 people from the Jiang family who did not know anything? To put it bluntly, those who had nothing to lose were not afraid of those who wore shoes. Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue had 2 lives now. At most, they would have to pay for these 2 lives. What about the Tao family? Could they afford to pay for it? If Tao Zhu was finished, the entire Tao family would be greatly affected. It was indescribable. Now that something had happened to Tao Yinan, the power that the Tao family had held in their hands with great difficulty in their previous lives would all be taken away by the collateral relatives. Tao Zhu's death alone was enough to cause internal strife in the Tao family. The struggle for power would immediately set off a storm of blood. When that time came, who would care about the Jiang family? They would only believe that the 2 people from the Jiang family would not be able to achieve anything. However, they would not believe that if they did not seize this opportunity to fight for power, they would not be able to establish themselves in the Tao family in the future. This was like a butterfly reaction. As long as Tao Zhu died, the Tao family would be in an uproar. If something happened to Tao Yinan, the Tao family would be completely turned upside down. Therefore, Su Yun felt that there was no need to take the Tao family's threat to heart. Jiang Zixue and Jiang Hong could just sit on the mountain and watch the dogs fight. They would see who would be able to hold out in the end. When the time came, it would not be too late for the Jiang family to make a move. When that time came, the Tao family would be the ones who would suffer great losses, while the Jiang family would be the ones recuperating. In the end, wouldn't it be obvious who would gain the upper hand? Su Yun did not need to let Jiang Hong and Jiang Zixue worry about the threat that the Tao family brought to them. When Su Yun drove home with Ruan Qingxuang, Sua Meiyan's hanging heart relaxed. Her legs almost went soft and she sat on the ground. She had not been so scared for many years. If Su Yun was alone, she would not feel this way. Her confidence in Su Yun could suppress her worry for Su Yun. However, with Ruan Qingxuang, it was different. It meant that Su Yun's weakness was in the hands of the other party. When that happened, what could Su Yun do? Bai Xiaoye did not know what had happened, nor did she want to know. She only knew that Su Yun and Ruan Qingxuang were back. That was enough. No matter what happened, as long as they were fine, it was a good thing. As for Chou Yun, who did not like to talk, she did not ask any more questions. She had a sincere smile on her face. These were two of the three most important people in the world to her. Those people are in the car, Su Yun said. Jiang Hong and the others did not ask any more questions. They immediately helped Su Yun carry the three unconscious medical personnel into the room. These people had been knocked unconscious, so they did not know what had happened. This was good. It would save them from the after effects of fear in their hearts. Tao Yinan and Blackwater. What's the situation now? Jiang Zixue finally could not hold back and asked. Perhaps because she was embarrassed, her voice was very soft. Chapter 2749. When Jiang Hong heard Jiang Zixue's words, he felt a little embarrassed. After all, Su Yun and Ruan Qingxuang had just escaped death and returned home. It was already unbelievable that the two of them could return home safely. Who would have the mood to think about Tao Yinan and Blackwater? Therefore, when Jiang Zixue said this, she seemed especially ignorant. However, Jiang Hong didn't know that Jiang Zixue was concerned about this matter because of Jiang Hong. Blackwater had already seen Jiang Hong. This was very different from when they didn't know what Jiang Hong looked like. For an expert like Blackwater, once he set his eyes on Jiang Hong, he would only need a few seconds to solve the problem. Therefore, this was too dangerous for Jiang Hong. Jiang Zixue didn't care about herself. She was Tao Yinan's target. Since Tao Yinan had been targeting her for such a long time, she definitely wouldn't have any misgivings. Previously, the Tao family was worried about Empress Zhuo Langyue's questioning. Now, Tao Yinan didn't have to worry at all. Among the 6 great families that besieged the Jiang family, 3 of the leaders had already died. Tao Yu was stabbed to death by old Mr. Jin's flying dagger. Zhou Xuanqing was killed by Li Zheng because of internal strife. As for Li Zheng, he was killed by Jiang Hong because he was deranged. Everything was related to the Jiang family. The matter had already blown up, and the Jiang family had already settled half of the leaders of the 6 great families. When the time came, even if something happened to them, how could Zhuo Langyue blame them? Even if she wanted to blame them, she couldn't blame the Tao family, Li family, and Zhou family. This was because the leaders of the younger generation of these 3 families had already died. Even if they did something wrong, they had already paid a painful price. If Zhuo Langyue wanted to blame someone, she would blame the Zhao family, Qian family, and Sun family. This way, it wouldn't have anything to do with the Tao family. In this way, Tao Yinan could completely resolve the hidden danger of the Jiang family without any misgivings. Jiang Hong and Jiang Zixue deserved to be killed. Therefore, Jiang Zixue was especially concerned about the current situation of Tao Yinan and Blackwater. This way, she would know how much danger Jiang Hong was in. In fact, Jiang Zixue also understood that it was not a good idea for her to ask this question now. It seemed too practical and realistic. However, the reality of the situation was so cruel that she had no choice but to worry about it. Although Jiang Hong felt that Jiang Zixue's words weren't right, Su Yun wasn't displeased. He didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. If it was anyone else, they would have thought of this. Moreover, she was worried about her brother. Su Yun could completely guess this, so he could completely understand her. "Don't worry, they definitely don't have time to provoke us now," Su Yun said. "Your brother is not in any danger at all." Jiang Zixue calmed down a bit. "But Blackwater knows what he looks like. It's not good for us." "What's wrong with that?" "He knows how you look." Jiang Hong didn't care. "I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's good. I'm a man, so why would I be afraid of him? I really don't want others to think that I'm a coward." "What do you know? You are the root of the Jiang family. In their eyes, you are." Jiang Zixue was so angry that she didn't know what to say. Su Yun understood Jiang Zixue's worries. "Don't worry, there won't be any danger for the time being." Jiang Zixue couldn't be at ease after hearing this. "What do you mean by the time being? Are Tao Yinan and Blackwater still at large?" Su Yun nodded, then shook his head. It was true that he was outside the law, but he was afraid that it had nothing to do with Xiao Yao. It was impossible for him to be Xiao Yao. "What's going on?" Jiang Zixue was really anxious. Zhuo Meiyan saw that she was worried, so she simply gave her a strong dose of medicine. "We all know how strong Blackwater is. As for Tao Yinan's strength, we don't know, but you do. Su Yun alone has to ensure Qing Shuang's safety. How can he solve the problem of Blackwater and Tao Yinan?" Jiang Zixue was stunned. "That's right. It's lucky that he can come back like this. Do you still expect him to save Blackwater and Tao Yinan's lives?" Zhuo Meiyan said, "Sister, you are too whimsical." Zhuo Meiyan's words were like a blow to Jiang Zixue's head, waking her up at once. To be honest, since Su Yun helped her, she seemed to have a kind of support. She always felt that Su Yun could solve everything. So every time Su Yun brought good news, she would put her hopes very high. Because every time Su Yun brought her good news, she would always be surprised. Something that she didn't dare to imagine was done and solved. Over time, Jiang Zixue got used to it. This time, she put her hopes very high. Even though she knew very well that this was not an easy thing to solve, she still saw hope when Su Yun came back. Unfortunately, Su Yun let her down this time. The result she hoped for was definitely not going to happen. "I know you want to avoid future troubles. I also want to, but Blackwater is not an ordinary opponent." Su Yun said, "It is indeed difficult for me to deal with him." "Sorry, I was too impatient." Jiang Zixue said, "Sister Meiyan is right. You brought Sister Qing Shuang back safe and sound. That's already very lucky." Su Yun smiled. "Don't worry. There is no danger now." Jiang Zixue was too embarrassed to say anything more. Based on the current situation, even if Tao Yinan still has ambition, she is not capable of it. Su Yun said, "And it is hard to say whether Blackwater will still work for the Tao family." Hearing Su Yun's words, everyone became curious. "You hurt Tao Yinan?" Cho Yun asked in surprise. Bai Xiaoye was also very surprised. "With Blackwater restraining you, how could you hurt Tao Yinan?" "Brother, not bad. You're really something." "I really didn't hurt Tao Yinan." Su Yun said, "Think about how powerful Blackwater is. When I was fighting with him, how could I be distracted? She did it." When Su Yun's eyes landed on Ruan Qingshuang, everyone was dumbfounded. How could it be? How could Ruan Qingshuang hurt Tao Yinan? Jiang Zixue was dumbfounded. Based on her interactions with Ruan Qingshuang was the kind of person who would not even kill an ant. How could she have hurt Tao Yinan? What kind of person was Tao Yinan? She had grown up in a wealthy family. When she was 5 years old, she was so scheming that ordinary adults could not compete with her. Now, at her age, she was an evil woman who had no compassion. If the two of them were compared, no matter how one looked at it, Ruan Qingxuang was the one who was at a disadvantage. There was no way that Tao Yinan could have been hurt. Now, Su Yun said that Ruan Qingxuang hurt Tao Yinan. It was really shocking. A handful of sand, Su Yun said calmly. Actually, anyone would have fallen for it. In the face of Ruan Qingxuang, any ordinary person would not have the slightest bit of defense, let alone a master. Ruan Qingxuang was a person who would blush even when speaking loudly in front of their evil deeds. No one would believe that she would hurt someone. That was why Ruan Qingxuang had the opportunity to blind Tao Yinan with a handful of sand. When everyone heard this from Su Yun, they immediately understood what had happened. Ruan Qingxuang had blinded Tao Yinan with just a handful of sand. It sounded ridiculous, but it was the truth. I really didn't expect Tao Yinan to end up like this. Zhang Zixue found it hard to calm down. With Tao Yinan's arrogance, she must be so angry that her lungs are about to explode, right? I don't know if her lungs are going to explode, but I'm afraid she won't be able to open her eyes for at least half a month. If she wants to solve it completely, she will probably have to go to a country like the United States for surgery. Su Yun said, so we don't have to worry about the Tao family anymore. Zhuo Meian clapped her hands and cheered. If Tao Yinan is really blind, Blackwater will definitely find another way. By then, we don't have to worry about the Tao family anymore. If she's really blind, wouldn't I have sinned? Ruan Qingxuang was a little flustered when she heard this. This was a crime of intentional injury. Zhuo Meian was speechless. She rolled her eyes. She wanted to kill you, but you are still worried about blinding her. Sigh, you are really hopeless. Chapter 2750. She deserves it if she's blind. Bai Xiaoye's tongue was vicious. For a woman like her, the sooner she becomes a cripple, the fewer people she will harm. Why are you still worried about her? She even dared to scheme against her own brother. Ruan Qingxuang thought about it and felt that it was quite scary. How could someone who could even harm her own brother have any pity for others? Of course, her own brother was not a good person either. He could also bear to harm her. Phew, this family is really weird. Ruan Qingxuang shook her head. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. It has nothing to do with me. That's right, Bai Xiaoye said. Who cares if Tao Yinan is blind or not? It's good that she's blind. If she's not, then the heavens must be blind. Don't curse her. She's hateful, but she's also a pitiful person who can't even trust her own family, Ruan Qingxuang said. Ruan Qingxuang's words made sense. Tao Yinan's seemingly glamorous appearance hid a pitiful and trembling heart. Why was she a little psychopathic? Wasn't it because of the environment she lived in? If Tao Yinan really becomes blind, do you still plan to pursue the matter with her? Su Yun's question had a deeper meaning. At the very least, he could tell how much hatred Zhang Hong and Zhang Zixue still had in their hearts from this question, and whether they could let it go. Of course. Zhang Hong didn't even consider this question. Putting aside the troubles in the future, Zhang Hong couldn't allow Tao Yinan to continue acting arrogantly. She had already bullied Su Yun. Zhang Hong couldn't accept this. No matter how Tao Yinan treated the Zhang family, it was a matter between the Tao family and the Zhang family. There was no need to involve Su Yun, and there was no need to drag an innocent person like Ruan Qingxuang into it. This would increase Zhang Hong's hatred and anger towards Tao Yinan. Moreover, Tao Yinan had chased Zhang Zixue all the way to Huaxia. If Tao Yinan was not eliminated, she would always be a threat to him and Zhang Zixue. She would always be a scourge. What Zhang Hong said was all from the bottom of his heart. He didn't hide anything from Su Yun. This thought wasn't wrong, but after Zhang Hong said these 3 words, the teachings of his master, Jin Guai, popped up in his mind. He didn't know whether the hatred in his heart was wrong or not. If he couldn't let go of these things, he would be in even more pain. Some things were just like that, inexplicable. She won't let us go. Jiang Zishue said, I'm very sure about this. As long as Tao Yinan is alive, even if she is blind, she will do everything she can to get rid of us. She will also do everything she can to maintain her position in the Tao family. Su Yun smiled. I'm just afraid that she won't be able to do anything even if she tries. Jiang Zishue was stunned. If she really reaches that point, do you think it's necessary to continue to kill her? Su Yun said, I'm just saying if. Zhang Hong and Jiang Zishue were silent. Silence was a good thing. It meant that they were seriously considering this question. If they gave an answer without thinking, then the answer was too unreliable. At least, it wasn't the result of careful consideration. I don't know. Zhang Hong gave an answer that he couldn't choose. Jiang Zishue still nodded. She knew. Obviously, Su Yun was very satisfied with their answers. At least they didn't lie to Su Yun. Jiang Zishue definitely wouldn't let Tao Yinan go. After all, Tao Yinan had tried to kill her. It was just that she didn't succeed. If there was a chance, she would have died in Tao Yinan's hands. Therefore, Jiang Zishue had a reason to not let this person go. But Zhang Hong was in a dilemma. Tao Yinan was the enemy of the Zhang family. She deserved to die. But his master asked him to let go of his hatred. If Tao Yinan became a cripple, was there a need to continue to bicker with a cripple? Could it be that he would be able to obtain the so-called pleasure by personally cutting a cripple piece by piece? No, at least Zhang Hong wouldn't get that kind of pleasure. Instead, he would feel an indescribable feeling. In short, this feeling would make people feel disgusted. Zhang Hong took a deep breath. Some things really couldn't be explained clearly. Hearing Jiang Zishue say that she wouldn't let Tao Yinan go, Zhang Hong agreed. After all, the people of the 6 great families had caused the Zhang family to be so miserable. Tao Yinan was also one of them. Regarding these damn things, Zhang Hong wasn't someone who could let them go so easily. I know that you're speaking from the bottom of your heart. Su Yun, if I face someone who wants to kill me, I won't hesitate to kill them. This is human nature. Jiang Zishue smiled bitterly. I know what you're trying to say. I also want to change my mind, but I can't do it. No one can do it. Su Yun, the question is whether you want Zhang Hong to make the same choice as you. This is very important. Jiang Zishue was startled. She really hadn't considered this question before, but now it seemed that this question was very necessary to consider. Jiang Zishue thought very seriously. I don't want my brother to make the same choice as me. Why? Old Mr. Jean hopes that he can let go of his hatred. I hope so too. Jiang Zishue said, I don't want to see a brother who is controlled by hatred. That's not what I want. That's right. No one would want to see that happen, Su Yun said. Especially your family. Zhang Hong frowned. Su Yun, what are you trying to say? Say it, I will respect you. Su Yun smiled but didn't say anything. Some things needed to be made by oneself. Only by making one's own choice could one pursue one's own heart. Su Yun's smile made Zhang Hong even more confused. I'll go take a look at Pigeon and Jie Su. Su Yun decided to change the topic. This topic was meaningless to him. Although Jie Su was still in a critical period, Lin Ge had already pulled his life back from the gates of hell. If Lin Ge hadn't done everything he could, Jie Su might have really lost his life here today. Faced with today's situation, Lin Ge really didn't know what to do. Other than putting his life on the line, he had no other choice. Fortunately, Lin Ji's life was worth it. At least when he had almost exhausted all his internal energy, Jie Su weakly opened his eyes. When Su Yun arrived, Lin Ge really had no energy left. You've worked hard. Su Yun didn't stand on ceremony with Pigeon. There was no need for such formalities between the two of them. After helping Lin Ge to the side, Su Yun sat in Lin Ji's previous position. He quickly sealed a few acupoints on Jie Su's back. Qing Shuang, go to the room and get me my needles. Su Yun said. Su Yun wouldn't touch these things easily. If he took them out now, it would be a big deal. 108 silver needles had sealed most of Jie Su's acupoints and meridians. He wanted to take an unconventional approach. Unfortunately, Jie Su's body couldn't take it. Therefore, other than acupuncture, he also needed to cooperate with Su Yun's skills. It could be said that Jie Su's life was really tormenting them. Fortunately, Jie Su was lucky enough to be able to settle this matter. If it were anyone else, they would just take a big stick and smash them. Let's see who would dare to touch them. After Su Yun took over from Lin Gu, Jie Su spat out a mouthful of black blood. There must be something wrong with this mouthful of black blood. As long as this thing was forced out, he wouldn't be far from solving the problem. Brother, luckily you came back in time. Otherwise, Jie Su's life would have been lost in my hands. Lin Gu saw this scene and said with lingering fear. They were all experts in martial arts. Everyone knew this situation very well. Although Lin Gu had been using his internal energy to help Jie Su, his ability didn't manage to expel the blood clots from Jie Su's internal injury. The injury was too serious. Therefore, even Su Yun didn't dare to force it out. After sealing the acupoints and meridians with acupuncture and protecting Jie Su's heart, Su Yun dared to use his skills to expel the blood clots. This was something Lin Gu couldn't do. Therefore, Lin Gu lamented that he had almost taken Jie Su's life. If he didn't use the silver needles to seal the blood clots, Jie Su's body wouldn't be able to take it anymore. Of course, Lin Ji's previous efforts weren't in vain. If he hadn't used his skills to help Jie Su build a good foundation, Jie Su wouldn't have been able to withstand Su Yun's skills to expel the blood clots. Everything was linked. It wouldn't have worked if anyone took a step less. It would have been equally dangerous if anyone took a step more. To put it bluntly, Jie Su was lucky. Chapter 2751. After spitting out the congested blood, Jie Su felt much more awake. The main reason he fainted was that the congested blood had sealed his meridians and some of his nervous system. Now that everything was settled, Jie Feishuan felt much better. Although it was still impossible for him to walk on the ground, the basic ability to speak was not a big problem. Seeing everyone's worry and Lin Ji's self-blame, Jie Su said weakly, "Brother, it's not your fault. It's all thanks to you that I'm still alive. I feel like God is saying that I'm not destined to die. I'm still useful. I won't die." Hearing that Jie Su could speak again, everyone was relieved. It seemed like there would be no problem. Although he's still a little weak when speaking, with his body, it won't take long for him to recover. Su Yun patted Jie Su. "Don't talk anymore. Circulate your energy and hold your breath. I'll help you remove the needles." Jie Su nodded and quieted down. Su Yun began to remove the needles. Every needle was stained with black blood. This was normal because the more fragile capillaries would rupture under certain circumstances. The needles that Su Yun removed for Jie Su were the congested blood in his body. When the capillaries ruptured, the local pain-relieving substance would be released, and the capillaries would be regenerated. The pain would also disappear. This meant that it was effective. After Su Yun removed all the needles, Jie Su's back was full of bloody holes. Bai Xiaoye sighed. "How painful is this? I'm trembling just looking at it. If it's smooth, it won't be painful. If it's painful, it won't be smooth." Su Yun smiled. This is the theory of pain in the Yellow Emperor's internal canon. This is what traditional Chinese medicine emphasizes. Is it really okay? Zhuo Meiyan was in disbelief. This is a bit contradictory. Does it mean that it won't be painful if it's smooth? It might not be a good thing if it's smooth. Su Yun could not help but laugh. When did you become so serious? I've always been serious when it comes to important matters like this. Zhuo Meiyan said, "There are pros and cons to everything." You're right. The literal interpretation of these words is indeed somewhat doubtful, but it can't be considered a paradox. Su Yun said, "Actually, what he means is that if it doesn't hurt, it means that it might work, but if it hurts, it definitely won't work. Why do you have to be so serious with the ancients? Zhuo Meiyan shrugged nonchalantly. As long as you think he has. Su Yun pursed his lips. Did you see that? She still doesn't quite believe me. Now that Jie Su's life was no longer in danger, Jiang Hong and Jiang Zixue felt a lot more relieved. Previously, when Jie Su's body was still in danger, their hearts were hanging in mid-air. It's good to see that you're fine. Jiang Hong held it in for a long time before he said, because of us, you've suffered so much. I really feel bad about it. Jie Hypocrisy, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind. I really feel bad seeing you like this. But I'm an easygoing person. I'm not a busybody. I'm sorry. You're welcome. Jie Su said, when I said that I wanted to work for Su Yun, I was already prepared to face today's situation. So I don't blame you. Then you blame me? Su Yun was speechless. I didn't say that I wanted you to go through fire and water with me. I didn't want you to risk your life by following me. Jie Su shrugged his shoulders. But that's what I think. There's something wrong with your position. Su Yun said, cut the crap. Just stay at home and recuperate. What can be treated is only your superficial condition. You still need to recuperate from your internal injuries bit by bit. Don't waste it. Jie Su nodded. Don't worry. If I'm crippled, I won't waste my days by your side. You said it yourself. Su Yun said, then you really need to treat it carefully and slowly. If you're really crippled, then scram to the entrance of Sky Entertainment Building to be a security guard. I believe that you'll be able to do that job even if you're crippled. Jie Su chuckled. It turned out that Su Yun had already seen through him. From the day Jie Su came, he had no intention of becoming a security guard. Being a security guard was just a cover for him. As an expert, how could he be willing to stay in a security guard's office? Jie Su wanted to become someone like Lin Gu, someone who could be Su Yun's right-hand man. Jie Su was about the same age as Su Yun. Unfortunately, his childhood luck was much worse than Su Yun's. Jie Su was born in the Xionghu area. The people there were tough. When he was born, it was quite chaotic. Jie Su's father was a well-known troublemaker. Therefore, many people liked to look for him to do some despicable and shameless things. Because of this, Jie Su's father got into big trouble and ran away. His mother was also harmed. Jie Su experienced this when he just started to understand things. At a young age, he couldn't do anything. He was sold to human traffickers by some black-hearted people. Jie Su's background was even more complicated than the others. Before his training, he had been sold to a remote and desolate place to be the son of a village idiot who could not find a wife and had no ability to have children. Just like that, Jie Su endured for a year. During this year, his family beat and scolded him. When he had food to eat and cold water to drink, it was the best time of Jie Su's childhood. This was because the father who bought him was an idiot. He was mentally ill and had a short temper. When he was normal, it was normal. However, when he acted up, he would beat Jie Su to death. Even so, Jie Su endured. Once, Jie Su's father acted up again. Jie Su didn't manage to escape in time. His arm was broken and he was thrown onto the streets of the village. At that time, Jie Su was covered in bruises and his face was covered in blood. It was also at that time that Jie Su, who was not even 5 years old, had the idea of killing. At that moment, he really wanted to use a butcher's knife to stab his father in the throat. Just like how a butcher drained the blood of a pig, he wanted to drain the blood of this bastard who had beaten him black and blue. However, that was just a thought. After all, Jie Su was not even 5 years old at that time. That day, Jie Su didn't dare to go home. He was really pitiful after being beaten up. Fortunately, there was a widow living in the same remote village. It was said that she was also sold as a daughter-in-law. She wasn't very bright either. However, the villagers called her a jinx. That was because she had only been married for 3 years. Her family of 6, including her husband and 2-year-old child, tried to pull a cart into the city. In the end, they flipped over and fell into a ravine. Because she was a little dumb and had been sold, her family didn't dare to bring her into the city that day. That was why she was spared. It was also because of her stupidity that she stayed here. It was such a remote village. In the context of society in the 1990s, there was no way she could leave this remote village. Not to mention that there were no telephones in the 1990s. Even in the 21st century, there were many people in remote villages who had never seen a cell phone before. At that time, the place where Jie Su lived did not even have electricity. Kerosene lamps were not something that ordinary families could afford. At the very least, the family that he had been sold to could not afford kerosene lamps. The widow's house could not afford kerosene lamps either. However, that day, the widow bought a bottle of kerosene because she had brought poor Jie Su back to her house. Although the widow wasn't very bright and was a little dumb, she understood things. She knew that if Jie Su had nowhere to go, he would definitely freeze to death outside in such a cold winter. Not only did the widow treat Jie Su's wounds, she even made hot noodles for him. Actually, the widow wasn't dumb. She definitely wasn't as dumb as others thought. She was probably drugged when she was kidnapped and her brain was fried. That was how she ended up like this. The widow made Jie Su feel the warmth of the world. This was something that Jie Su would never forget in his life. However, it was because of this incident that Jie Su's father was completely enraged. He came to the widow's house angrily and taught her a lesson. He felt that she was meddling in other people's business. However, at that moment, the man had evil thoughts. Although he was infertile, it didn't mean that he didn't have the desire to do it. The widow was living alone and she had been sold. What could he do? At that time, the man threw caution to the wind and pounced on the widow. In front of Jie Su, he forced himself on the widow. Jie Su didn't understand anything at that time. However, he could see the widow's pained expression. After everything was over, the man dragged a dazed Jie Su out of the widow's house. The widow's eyes were filled with tears. She pitied Jie Su as well as herself. When it came to fate, there was a world of difference. Some people were born to be the nation's husband, while others were born to be tortured. Chapter 2752. After Jie Su was brought home, he suffered another round of beatings. His arm, which had already been broken, was once again severely injured. However, in that situation, in that society, under those damned conditions, who would have known that he had fractured his arm? Jie Su could only endure the pain. He did not dare to say anything. It would be meaningless. It would only result in more severe beatings. The next morning, before the man woke up, Jie Su crawled out of bed and dragged his injuries to the widow's house. He wanted to comfort the poor woman. After all, in this damned place, the only person who could make Jie Su feel warmth and humanity was this poor widow. There was no one else who could bring him warmth. However, the moment Jie Su opened the door to the widow's room, he was completely shocked. The main beam of the house was tied with a bedsheet. The widow's neck was hanging from the bedsheet. The widow's eyes were bulging and her tongue was sticking out. Her face was extremely hideous and pale. This was the most terrifying scene Jie Su had ever seen. It was also the most despairing moment of his life. After that moment, no matter what happened to Jie Su, he would never feel despair. It was because of this moment that he felt the limits of despair. The widow had hanged herself. Jie Su had lost all hope. He even felt that he should leave this world like the widow. But in the end, Jie Wan did not do that. He even tied the bed sheet he was going to hang himself with. He did not choose to die. It was not because he was afraid. It was because he felt that he should not be the one to die. The one to die should be that guy. That bastard. That bastard who forced the widow to her death. That's right. That's right. It was that man whom he called father. If it were not for that man, the widow would not have died. Living a crazy life was also a blessing. However, once she died, she was gone. The one who deserved to die was the one who forced the widow to her death. Jiesu's mind was filled with that man's ferocious face. In the past year, every time Jiesu thought of that ferocious devil, every cell in his body would tremble with fear. However, it was different this time. This time, when Jiesu thought of that man, every cell in his body would tremble with anger. Following that, he recalled the scene of the butcher slaughtering a pig. It was under such circumstances that Jiesu did something that shocked the entire village. He went to the butcher's house in the village and stole a butcher's knife that was used to bleed pigs. Taking advantage of the fact that the sun had just risen and the man had not woken up, Jaewon went to the bed and stabbed the sharp knife into the man's throat. The thick black blood flowed out along the blood trough. The man turned over on the bed in shock and fell onto the bed before he could even say a word. Blood dyed the bed sheets, the bedding, the entire bed, the entire floor, the entire room. At this moment, there was nothing but blood in Jiesu's eyes. At this moment, he only wanted to kill. One stab was not enough to quench his hatred. The second stab, the third stab, the fourth stab. Abstaining from hypocrisy completely pierced a man's face beyond recognition. The village butcher wanted to bring his tools to the county to slaughter pigs, but he could not find them. After asking around, he found out that the knife had been stolen by Jiesu. He cursed the son of Ebi Tisich in his heart before he angrily went to look for the culprit. The job of a butcher was not a bad one back then. Slaughtering a pig would earn him a lot of money. There were often jobs in the county that came knocking on his door. Starting from that era, some people had already become rich. Therefore, restaurants started to become popular and the number of slaughtering pigs and goats gradually increased. Things were different back then. The slaughterhouse solved the problem. The pork had to be stamped. Otherwise, there would be so many pigs that had been injected with water that they could not eat. Back then, the restaurants slaughtered their own pigs and goats. Therefore, the butcher made quite a lot of money. Furthermore, he could get some pig offal every time he went to the restaurant. Being a butcher was a job that was envied by many. For a butcher to come from such a poor and remote village, he was respected by everyone. The butcher was used to being domineering. No one dared to provoke him and he spoke rudely to everyone. Now that Jiesu had stolen his knife, he naturally had to reason with Jiesu. Even though Jiesu was usually crazy and arrogant, he would make people shudder when he acted up. Not many people were willing to provoke him. However, Jiesu had never acted up in front of the butcher. It was unknown if it was because he did not dare or because he was afraid that the butcher would kill him. Therefore, the butcher started cursing the moment he entered the yard. Jiesu, you bastard! Get your son out here! Stealing my knife? Do you believe that I will chop off his hand and feed it to the pigs? The butcher came cursing and swearing. However, when he kicked open the door, he felt a chill from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. The entire room was filled with the pungent smell of blood. Jiesu stood in front of him with a knife. His body, face, and hands were covered in blood. Jiesu was already lying on the bed, lifeless. He was beyond recognition. Even though the butcher had slaughtered thousands of pigs in his life, he could not help but stagger out of the room. With a loud cry, he vomited all over the floor. Even the pig intestines he had eaten last night were not spared. The butcher was quite good at slaughtering pigs. After slaughtering pigs his entire life, his hands were also stained with blood. However, he had never killed anyone before. The difference between killing and slaughtering pigs was too great. What did it mean to kill someone? The butcher did not even dare to think about it. That was a human. A human and a pig. That was not even the same concept. In the butcher's eyes, pigs were not considered living creatures. They were just food for humans. When Jiesu saw the butcher, he immediately understood what the butcher meant. Now that the person who deserved to die was completely dead, the knife was meaningless to Jiesu. Jiesu walked out of the room with the knife. The sunlight was already blinding. When the butcher saw Jiesu come out, he quickly turned around. However, he tripped and fell to the ground. The butcher that the entire village feared actually went limp in the face of a child. At that moment, the butcher was truly dumbfounded. Here. Jie Su turned the knife around, grabbed the blade, and handed the handle to the butcher. The butcher trembled as he reached out to take the knife. However, he stopped halfway. This was a murder weapon. Although there was no fingerprint identification back then, nor was there any high-tech criminal investigation team, the butcher was worried that the knife would bring bad luck. After all, it was a knife that had killed people before. Who would want to use it for no reason? Besides, the knife was not worth much. He could earn it back by killing a pig. There was no need for him to bring bad luck to himself. I don't want it anymore. I'll give it to you. Take it. I'll give it to you. The butcher stuttered. Jie Su did not say anything else. He put the knife away and left. Everything happened too quickly. By the time the butcher snapped back to his senses and shouted for the entire village to know, Jie Su was already nowhere to be found. This child who was not even 5 years old had disappeared into the ravine just like that. Jie Su left. When he left, he did not bring anything with him. He only brought a bloody knife used for slaughtering pigs, a broken arm, and a heart that could solve any problem with violence. Just like that, Jie Su did not know how long he had traveled before he arrived at a faraway county town. He, a child who was not even 5 years old, had managed to make a name for himself with a knife. Even the police station was rendered speechless by a child like him. At his age, what was he supposed to do? Considering that he did not have parents, the police eventually sent him to an orphanage. However, that night, a boy from the orphanage bullied him because he was a stranger. Jie Su strangled him to death with a pillowcase. Everything happened so suddenly. Jie Su ran away again. He did not know where he had run off to. He only remembered that it was a rainy night. He wanted to rob a car for money but was hit by a car. When he got up, a man appeared in front of him and asked him why he had done that. Later, the man found out that Jie Su's arm, which was holding the knife, was fractured. Furthermore, it was severely deformed. Because of this small accident, Jie Su was brought to Heaven's Eye. That man was the father he had always respected. That was why Jie Su was willing to do his job for him. His father's orders were everything. He had to obey them unconditionally. However, Jie Su did not expect that everything was still a dream. His father was just a hypocrite. He was not a kind person at all. Chapter 2753. It was not until Jie Ji met Su Yun that he realized he had finally met the right person at the age where he understood everything. It was also at that time that Jie Ji made up his mind to be Su Yun's right-hand man. He would be able to help whenever Su Yun faced any difficulties. He would treat it as atonement for his past sins. He did not want to go to hell. Being by Su Yun's side was perhaps Jie Ji's best chance to atone for his past sins. Jie Ji's hands were stained with blood after helping the evildoer for so many years. He was a pitiful person. If he had not had such a tragic childhood, he would not have ended up like this. He would not have stained his hands with the blood of so many innocent people. He did not want to leave this world with a body full of sin. Jie Ji only hoped that when he died, he would be able to wash away all his sins. He would only be able to leave with peace of mind if he washed away all his sins. That way, even if he went to hell, it would not be the 18th level. Jie Ji did not dare to hope for a long life, nor did he dare to hope for a future. He never thought that he could live that long. For someone like Jie Ji, being able to leave this world without waiting until he was old was a form of relief. At least, that was what Jie Hypocrite thought. He really did not want to see himself grow old. He might as well just die when he was still young. Ending all troubles once and for all would make him feel more relaxed, wouldn't it? It was all these messy thoughts that made Jie Ji feel that following Su Yun was the right thing to do. Only Su Yun could give him the life he wanted. Therefore, Jie Ji would die without regrets if he worked for Su Yun. This was his choice. It was just that he would feel slightly regretful if he died too early. Of course, all these were just Jie Ji's own thoughts. They were definitely not Su Yun's. Su Yun could not possibly use Jie like this. He could not do it. He did not want a fighter who could help him deal with thorny problems in a short period of time. His right-hand man was not to be used. Therefore, no matter the cost, Su Yun would not allow anything to happen to quitting forgery. Just now, Su Yun had used his last bit of qi. Even though the duration was far less than what Lin Gu had done to Jiesu, the damage to his own internal energy was definitely severe. It could even be said that Su Yun's current situation was even more exhausting than Lin Ji's. He dared to do this because he was sure that Blackwater wouldn't be stupid enough to go back to the Guqin Island. Now, all of Blackwater's attention was on Tao Yinan. Tao Yinan was the only bargaining chip he had. Whether Blackwater could stay in the Tao family or not, whether he had a chance to establish himself in the Tao family, all depended on this. Tao Yinan endured the pain in her eyes and roared angrily, "How long are you going to drive? Do you really want me to go blind?" "Miss Tao, what good will it do me if you go blind?" Blackwater said calmly. "It won't do me any good if you go blind. You'll only make it harder for me to make a choice." Tao Yinan was annoyed. "What's so hard for you? Just say the word and you'll solve the problem." "Now that's interesting," Blackwater said. "Say the word? If you want to leave, just say the word and you'll be gone. Isn't that right?" Tao Yinan said. "Do you really think that I, Tao Yinan, will treat you as a loyal person? Who do you think I am?" "That's your problem," Blackwater Daoist said. "But I'm still working for you. You better choose to believe me." "Can I really believe you?" "You don't have any other choice." Blackwater's words left no room for negotiation. Since Tao Yinan could say something like this, Blackwater didn't care anymore. "If you really don't want your eyes anymore, just tell me in advance. I won't waste my time." Only then did Tao Yinan shut her mouth. Blackwater was already impatient, but it was not his fault. Anyone would be annoyed when faced with this kind of situation. Anyway, the two of them were now suspicious of each other. If it weren't for the fact that they were still useful to each other, they might have parted ways immediately. When Blackwater finally found a big hospital that he could trust, Tao Yinan's mood gradually began to calm down. After Tao Yinan was sent to the emergency room, Blackwater went to the corner of the stairwell and lowered his head to light a cigarette. Where should he go from here? He really should think about it carefully. Originally, Blackwater thought that as long as Tao Yinan's eyes were fine, he could still stay by her side and work for her. He believed in Tao Yinan's ability and felt that staying by Tao Yinan's side would bring him the most benefits. But now he didn't think so. Tao Yinan was a woman that he couldn't understand. Blackwater didn't dare to trust Tao Yinan. Once Tao Yinan solved all the problems, who would Blackwater be? Could he really cooperate with her and rely on her? Blackwater didn't dare to say for sure. Now he was more worried about when Tao Yinan would stop using him. Once he was no longer useful to Tao Yinan and he knew so many dirty things about her, what would he face? Blackwater had seen Tao Yinan's conspiracy and viciousness. In this trip to Huaxia, Tao Yinan's careful arrangement made use of the thoughts of the three parties and got rid of the pottery sculptures with so many masters. Thinking of this, Blackwater felt horrible. Tao Yinan's brain was really terrible. If he continued to cooperate with Tao Yinan, Blackwater would face an unpredictable end. His sixth sense told him that it was absolutely impossible to have a good end. If he cooperated with Tao Yinan, he would only get a very bad end. This kind of end would make Blackwater regret that he stayed by Tao Yinan's side and cooperated with her. Blackwater could be sure of this now. Blackwater took a puff of the cigarette. He felt that he needed to think clearly. This was not a trivial matter. As time passed, the people in the hospital cleaned up the sand in Tao Yinan's eyes little by little. However, Tao Yinan still couldn't open her eyes to see things clearly. Although the sharp pain disappeared under the effect of the anesthetic, she still felt that her eyeballs were still struggling. Finally, Tao Yinan's eyes were wrapped. The doctor called Blackwater to him. "The situation is very serious." "What the hell are you doing? Are you kidding with your eyes?" "I didn't come to the hospital to listen to your lecture. I came to ask you to solve the problem for me. Blackwater's expression was hazy. His voice and expression were not kind at all. The attending doctor, who always flaunted in front of patients in the hospital, was stunned at that time. There was someone who didn't know what was good for him. You. If you think that we are useless, you can find a place to see it yourself. The doctor glared at him. Blackwater grabbed the doctor and pulled him to himself. Do you want to die? The doctor's back was covered with cold sweat. This guy was not joking. He was really angry. The doctor opened his eyes wide. It seemed that he wanted to explain the matter. However, Blackwater was not in the mood to listen to his explanation. He directly threw the doctor to the ground. Are you blind? I just want to ask you one question. No, she won't be blind. But the medical conditions in Huaxia are still not good enough. The doctor didn't dare to yell at Blackwater anymore. It's not easy for us to do this. She is not in danger of losing her eyesight, but she can't see things clearly. It's very vague. She can only sense light. Blackwater frowned. What's the difference between this and blindness? I believe that she can recover if there is a better medical environment in time, the doctor said. Blackwater directly threw him a sentence. Trash. He was not in the mood to continue listening to this explanation. He needed to take Tao Yinan back to Moscow as soon as possible. The Tao family had the best medical equipment and could find the best doctors there. Otherwise, Tao Yinan would be hopeless. Tao Yinan was very clear in her heart that there was no hope for her eyes in Huaxia. When Blackwater said that he would take her away, she was more certain of her idea. Fortunately, she had Blackwater by her side. Otherwise, she would have no way to go back. Then she would have no hope at all. Blackwater was silent all the way. Tao Yinan didn't say anything anymore. She followed Blackwater's arrangement. Chapter 2754. Tao Yinan was able to arrive at the Moscow airport safely because of Blackwater's care. She felt that she should repay his kindness. However, Tao Yinan was not in the mood to say any polite words to Blackwater. After contacting the family, Tao Yinan and Blackwater waited for someone to pick them up. They didn't talk to each other. About 10 minutes later, someone finally appeared and broke the silence that made Tao Yinan uneasy. Miss, we finally found you. Your eyes. Tao Yinan was stunned. Her eyebrows, which were wrapped with gauze, frowned tightly. Blackwater left. Although Tao Yinan couldn't see, her heart was not blind. She knew that what should happen would happen eventually. Let's go. Tao Yinan said lightly and stood up. Let's go home first. Miss, are you alone? The man was surprised. Where are the others? If Tao Yinan's eyes were not wrapped with gauze, he wouldn't ask this question. But now both of Tao Yinan's eyes were wrapped with gauze. How could a person with a problem with his eyes fly back by himself? There had to be others. This was not something that an abnormal person with a disability could do. Can't I go home by myself? Tao Yinan's face was a little ugly. Her subordinates hurriedly supported Tao Yinan and prepared to go back. As for what exactly happened, they, as subordinates, could only guess. Blackwater saw that someone came to pick Tao Yinan up, so he quickly hid. He watched Tao Yinan being picked up all the way. Finally, he was completely relieved. In the end, Blackwater had to make such a choice. He knew that he had no foothold in the Tao family. Tao Su was dead. Tao Yinan's eyes were very likely to be blind. This was the result of Blackwater's close protection. As a master, he would never think about the process. He wouldn't care about what happened. He only cared about the result. He only cared about whether things were done well or not. Obviously, Blackwater didn't do it well this time. He messed up. Perhaps the result would be better if he didn't agree to cooperate with Tao Yinan at the beginning. One wrong step would lead to many wrong steps. Many things were like this. It was impossible to solve it in any way. Forget it, because there were no ifs. Tao Yinan was taken to a car and the car quickly left the airport. Blackwater looked at the distant taillights and felt melancholy. Although it was said that an expert with his ability was not old at all when he was 40 years old, and there were many people who would fight to have someone like him as their personal bodyguard. But Blackwater wasn't willing to accept it. He didn't want to be a person with such a status for the rest of his life. He wanted to get the status he deserved in a big family, which was what Blackwater wanted. With his strength and the hard work he had put in these past few years, he wasn't lacking in money. What he lacked was status, a stable status. In 100 years, even if he was an expert of the earth-profound realm, what could he do? Could it be that someone would hire an old man to be their bodyguard? Therefore, what Blackwater needed the most now was status. Of course, he couldn't fall behind in terms of strength. However, as he grew older, he hoped that he could become a person who didn't need to do anything. He only needed to say something and people would work for him. People are always like this. They like to pursue and obtain more. Tao Inan's departure was equivalent to severing all ties between Blackwater and the Tao family. There was no place for him in Moscow anymore. Blackwater looked back at the boarding gate of the international airport. The flight to Huaxia was about to take off. If it wasn't for this trip to Huaxia, he wouldn't have fallen into such a situation. Su Yun, what a good Su Yun. He had such ability at such a young age. Blackwater suddenly clenched his fists. He really didn't want to admit that he had lost to a little brat. If it wasn't for Su Yun, their plan would have been completed smoothly. Everything would have been perfect. Tao Inan would have gotten the status she wanted, and Blackwater would have also gotten the status he wanted. Everything would have been so smooth. Everything would have continued to be so perfect. Thinking about the feeling of being under one person and above 10,000 people in the future, Blackwater yearned for it. But all of this would be gone. Because of a damned young man, everything he had was destroyed. His money, his status, his everything was completely destroyed by Su Yun. Where should he go? Blackwater wasn't prepared at all, however, at this moment. Tao Inan's anxiety was more serious than Blackwater's. Everything she faced was unavoidable. Blackwater could escape when he wanted to, but Tao Inan couldn't do that. Tao Inan's everything belonged to the Tao family. This was the only thing she couldn't give up. Without the Tao family as her backing, Tao Inan was nothing. So she had to face all this. Moreover, it was still unknown whether her eyes could recover. She could only let Blackwater bring her back. All of this was a choice Tao Inan had to make. She had no choice. The more you wanted to get, the more you had to bear. How could Tao Inan not understand this simple truth? Dealing with the remaining members of the Jiang family was the most important thing for the Tao family. So when they heard that someone had come back from Huaxia, the whole Tao family came. The Tao family's meeting hall was full of people. Everyone was looking forward to the news. However, to everyone's surprise, Tao Inan came back alone. That kind of shock was self-evident. Although Tao Inan's eyes were covered, she could feel everyone's mentality when looking at her. Some were surprised, some were gloating, some were curious and puzzled, and some were secretly happy. Everyone's eyes were focused on Tao Inan. Tao Inan didn't want to accept any blame, nor did she want to listen to anyone's questioning. So she didn't wait for anyone to speak and said, "Except for me and Blackwater, everyone is dead." Shocking. The whole meeting hall was eerily quiet. There were so many people, but there was almost no sound of breathing. I know, there must be a lot of people who want to ask me what happened, but it can't be explained in a few words. Tao Inan said lightly, "My eyes need treatment. If you have any questions, wait until I recover." After that, Tao Inan turned to leave. Where is Blackwater? Although Tao Inan said she didn't want to answer questions, someone still stood up and questioned her regardless of her condition. About Blackwater, you shouldn't ask someone who can't see. Tao Inan said, "I only know that he got off the plane with me. As for where he went after that, I'm afraid I can't answer you." Tao Inan's words were very tough, leaving the other party speechless. In the face of this major change, everyone felt a bit depressed. They even felt that they couldn't breathe. This kind of feeling was very hard to accept. At least for now, the entire Tao family's previous generation head didn't say a word. Of course, that included Tao Yinan's father. When Tao Yinan said that except for her and Blackwater, everyone was dead, he knew that something big was going to happen in the Tao family. Although Tao Zhu was usually domineering, the Tao family didn't have any messy internal strife with him around. This was all thanks to Tao Zhu's domineering attitude. However, now that Tao Zhu was dead, what did this mean? It meant that everything was out of control. Out of control. He had given almost all the power of the Tao family to Tao Zhu. He didn't expect this kind of problem to happen at this critical juncture. He really had bad luck. A white-haired person sending off a black-haired person, this kind of feeling was the most unbearable. Who could bear this kind of blow for someone who was almost 70 years old? Tao Yinan didn't say anything else and strode to the door. She was too familiar with this meeting hall, so even if she couldn't see the way, she knew how to get out. Tao Yinan's subordinate immediately chased after her. No matter what happened, Tao Yinan was the Tao family's young miss. He couldn't let her fall. Chapter 2755. After Tao Yinan left, there was an uproar in the Tao family's meeting room. As for Tao Yinan's father, Tao Longqing, his face was ashen. He didn't say a single word. As a father, he knew his children too well. This time, when the siblings went out to work together, Tao Longqing knew that something would happen. He knew better than anyone else what kind of character his son and daughter had. This time, Tao Zhu didn't plan to let Tao Yinan return to Moscow. When he left, he only took 6 of his people and didn't let Tao Yinan take anyone else. Just based on this, Tao Longqing knew that things would become very troublesome. He originally had the chance to stop it, but he didn't. He chose to let nature take its course. He knew that he couldn't control it forever. He was almost 70 years old and didn't have that much energy. If Tao Zhu wanted to get rid of Tao Yinan, he could only turn a blind eye. After all, he also understood Tao Yinan. He knew that his daughter was not someone to be trifled with. Tao Yinan had been enduring and giving in because the whole family supported Tao Zhu. Moreover, there was still him, this old man, suppressing Tao Zhu. If it wasn't for this old man, who knew what kind of trouble Tao Yinan would have caused. Third brother, this matter isn't something that can be easily solved by the young people. I'm afraid we have to step in. Yeah. Now you have to give us a clear instruction. Even Tao Zhu is in trouble. Are we going to sit back and do nothing? Longqing, say something. Third brother, I don't know what you think, but I agree with them. We can't wait any longer. The brothers all talked at once, and they all pointed at Tao Longqing. How could Tao Longqing not know what his brothers were thinking? The last time the Tao family had internal strife was his father. Because of his father's power, he and his 3 brothers and 2 sisters were able to control the real power of the Tao family. And now, it was time to make a new choice. When they were still in power, they could live in harmony and control the power that belonged to them together, so that their cousins couldn't usurp the power. But now, the children of the next generation had grown up. The relationship between their children was no longer the relationship between siblings. Their children's generation were cousins. They knew very well how they treated their cousins, so they could definitely imagine what their next generation's life would be like in the future. It was precisely because he understood all of this that Tao Longqing couldn't wait to assign the role of the leader to Tao Zhu. He wanted Tao Zhu to establish his prestige first, and then give him actual authority bit by bit. But who would have thought that something would happen to this thing that he didn't fight for? Tao Longqing's painstaking efforts over the years had all been wasted. How could Tao Longqing accept this? He couldn't bear this pressure at all. Enough. Tao Longqing suddenly slammed his palm on the table. Everyone immediately shut their mouths. After all, Tao Longqing was still the current head of the Tao family. This was also a position appointed by the previous generation. He had real power in his hands and his words were dignified. My daughter is already in such a state, and I don't even know what happened to my son. What decision do you want me to make? Tao Longqing threatened angrily. Do you want me to appoint a new leader right now? Although no one said this just now, the hidden meaning was the same. It was to fight for the identity of a leader for their next generation. The identity of a leader was very important. This was definitely something that everyone had to fight for. If they wanted their next generation to rise up in the family and become the leader, then they had to get the leader first. Today, I will also say this. If you want to become the leader, then it depends on your own ability. Tao Longqing threw this sentence to the younger generation who hadn't dared to speak. They were all his nephews. When they heard this, their eyes lit up. But the fathers of these younger generations couldn't help but frown. Tao Longqing's intentions were sinister. Wasn't it obvious that he wanted them to rely on their own ability? Let them fight for it themselves. The leader has been appointed for so many years. How can they fight for this? The fourth son, Tao Hawu, glared. This won't do. If I say it's okay, then it's okay, Tao Longqing said. In this family, do I have the final say or do you have the final say? Third brother, you're going too far. Tao Tianfeng frowned. Tao Longqing's expression didn't change. Second sister, I've already made up my mind. Then shouldn't you tell eldest brother what position you place him in? Tao Qianhu questioned. Before Tao Longqing could speak, the eldest son, Tao Mingxue, waved his hand and stood up. When has he ever listened to my advice? Forget it. He can do whatever he wants. I'm old. I'm not in the mood to participate. Indeed, Tao Mingxue, who was already in his 70s, was really not suitable to continue participating in family matters. The youngest in their generation, Tao Wucha, was only in her 50s. She smiled. Of course, eldest brother doesn't mind. Isn't this more beneficial for his family? Tao Mingxue's eldest son was almost 50 years old. He was only a few years younger than her youngest aunt. In a large family clan, age was a very important factor. As one grew older, they would gain more and more power. Therefore, Tao Wucha's words made sense. She felt that she couldn't win against her eldest nephew, let alone her child. Plus, he was an outsider, so it would be even more difficult. Tao Mingxue didn't care or ask about anything. He seemed to have no desires, but in reality, he was secretly scheming. Now that Tao Wucha had pointed it out, Tao Mingxue's face couldn't hold on any longer. If you want to argue, then continue. Tao Longqing slowly stood up. But I don't have time to waste with you. You want to think about your children, but I will also care about my children. Before Tao Longqing left, his words were full of hidden meaning. Fight. Only when they fought fiercely would Tao Longqing have a chance to breathe. Otherwise, if they all pointed their spears at him, he wouldn't be able to do anything. And now he really wanted to have a good talk with Tao Yinan. Regardless of whether he was unfair to this daughter or not, as a father, he should appear by her side. Before Tao Yinan returned to her room, she asked the housekeeper to contact the best eye hospital and eye doctor in Moscow. They would bring their equipment to Tao Yinan's house within an hour to treat her. With the guarantee of advanced medical treatment, Tao Yinan could more or less lie down on the bed and sleep peacefully for a while. Tao Ruhu and Tao Qiani heard that Tao Yinan had returned and immediately rushed over. After all, she was their master. If something happened to Tao Yinan, then their status in the Tao family would drop. If they didn't want to swallow their anger, then they could only leave the Tao family. In this large family, when a person achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs can ascend to heaven. So the two of them were still very concerned about Tao Yinan. When Tao Yinan left, the two of them thought that they might never see their master again. Even a fool could see that Tao Zhu wanted her life. Now that she could come back, it was definitely a blessing after surviving a disaster. Tao Yinan didn't want to see anyone at first, but when she heard that the two of them came, she didn't refuse them. Now if Tao Yinan still wanted to have a foothold in the Tao family, she had to grab hold of all the power she could. Otherwise, what capital did she have? Miss Tao, what happened to you? Tao Ruhu saw the bandages on Tao Inan's eyes, and his face suddenly changed. Nothing. Tao Inan said faintly, I was hurt by sand. Did young master Tao do it? Tao Inan snorted. I hope that he did it to me. That way, I can be prepared and not become like this. The most terrifying thing in the world isn't the kind of enemy you have to be wary of, but the kind of opponent you don't care about at all. Tao Ruhu was confused by Tao Inan's words, and his face was blank. If we had known earlier, you wouldn't have been injured like this if we had followed you. If you had followed me, then you definitely wouldn't have been able to come back. Tao Inan said faintly, I didn't let you go because I know this. Do you believe me? Yes. Tao Inan smiled. If you care about our previous relationship, then do me a favor. Think about where Black Water will go after he comes back. Find him and tell him for me. As long as he wants, I will do my best to protect him. Let him find an opportunity to come back and help me. Chapter 2756. Before Tao Inan could get a reply, the servant knocked on the door again and came in to tell her, Master Tao is here, Mississippi. I'm not in the mood to see him right now, Tao Inan said indifferently. But how could a servant stop Tao Longqing? Moreover, Tao Longqing had already come in. Do you think I'm in the mood to see you? Inan, the person you should trust the most right now is me. When Tao Longqing came in, Tao Ruhu and Tao Qiani immediately bowed. Under Tao Longqing's signal, the two immediately lowered their heads and left. Don't forget what I told you to do. Tao Inan heard the footsteps of the two leaving and reminded them again. However, because Tao Longqing was present, the two didn't reply. They silently noted it down and hurriedly left. What do you want them to do? Why don't you let me do it for you? Tao Longqing said. I'm definitely more useful than the two of them, right? Dad, I'm really tired. I want to rest for a while, Tao Inan said. The doctor will be here in an hour. I need to recharge my energy. Tao Longqing didn't have any intention of leaving. I won't disturb you for too long. Moreover, even if the doctor comes, I'll have to tell them that you're my daughter. If I leave at this time, wouldn't I be not taking pity on my daughter? If you really took pity on me, you wouldn't have let my brother bring me to Huaxia. You didn't even say a word to stop him. Tao Inan was clearly very disappointed with her father. Tao Longqing naturally understood the meaning behind her words. Inan, you grew up in the Tao family's courtyard. You know very well what it means to have no choice. I'm sorry. I really don't understand what a patriarch who is in charge of everything can have no choice. Tao Inan said indifferently. If even you have times when you can't control yourself, then why would everyone covet your position? Tao Longqing was silent. I know. Perhaps I shouldn't say such things, but I really can't control myself. I have to think about our family's future. Our family's future is to let my brother support the Tao family. Then, any one of us should make sacrifices. We should die for him, we should do everything for him. Tao Inan said, I was born to be a sacrifice. You really aren't a sacrifice. Tao Longqing said, my love for you is the same, but it's just that he's a boy. He has a natural advantage. He can inherit everything from you. Tao Inan was a little emotional. But I can't. I'm just a girl. No matter how outstanding I am, I can't inherit everything from you. Tao Longqing didn't say anything. He was silent. Now that something has happened to Tao Su, the Tao family is in trouble. Everyone is pointing their spears at you, and now my two aunts are going to seize power, aren't they? Tao Inan said, as long as we take away the power, so what if she's a woman? She can still take charge of the Tao family. Tao Longqing remained silent. He knew that Tao Inan was right. This was the truth. Dad, if you had let me compete fairly with my brother from the beginning, I would have been able to compete with him fairly. Tao Inan said, how did I survive all these years? My own brother sees me as an enemy. He thinks about how to harm me every day. But he's the one who died in the end. Tao Longqing suddenly interrupted. Tao Yinan sneered. His death has nothing to do with me. He caused it himself. Nothing to do with you? Tao Longqing obviously didn't believe it. He went out with you. That's right. He did go out with me. He brought 6 experts with him, and I was alone. Tao Yinan said, "What do I have to fight with him?" Tao Longqing pointed at his temple. "The best thing is actually this. As long as you have this, any problem or trouble can be solved." Tao Yinan's smile was very subtle. "You know, I'm smarter than him." "Of course I know." Tao Longqing nodded. "That's why I haven't interfered too much with the problems between you two. I always believed that you can handle problems better. You really haven't interfered with the problems between us. I've always been able to turn danger into safety." Tao Yinan said, "Then why did you interfere this time?" Tao Longqing had always been suppressing his grief. Anyone who lost a son at this age would feel the greatest sorrow in their life. But he forcefully endured it. After so many years of being in charge of the Tao family, Tao Longqing had learned to endure all consequences. No matter how bad the situation was, he had learned to calmly face it. So even when he heard Tao Yinan tell him that Tao Su had died, he still used his calmest self to face the problem. "I have the right to know what happened." Tao Longqing saying this was completely a compromise for his daughter. "Ha ha." Tao Yinan's laughter was very weak. Tao Longqing took a deep breath. "Give me a chance, Yinan. I'll make it up to you. You're not worried about your daughter's eyes, but whether or not your son was harmed by me." Tao Yinan's voice was emotionless. "Is that so? I didn't." Tao Longqing didn't admit it. Tao Yinan said with disappointment, "But you still haven't asked me why my eyes became like this." Tao Longqing was startled. He really hadn't asked this question. I was worried that if I mentioned your sad matter, you'd feel sad." "I won't." Tao Yinan shook her head. "Then how did your eyes get hurt like this?" Tao Longqing immediately followed up with a question. Tao Yinan was expressionless. "My brother ruined it for me." Tao Longqing was startled. "Yinan, can I tell you the truth? If I tell you, will you mind?" "Of course you can," Tao Yinan said. "If you lie to your own daughter, then who can you tell the truth to?" "I don't believe that your brother did it," Tao Longqing said. "You've always been on guard against your brother." "I know that." "So if he attacked you, you would definitely be on guard." "Even if you were injured, it's impossible for your eyes to." "What if he forced it?" Tao Yinan interrupted Tao Longqing without any hesitation. Tao Longqing took a deep breath. With his personality, if he wanted to do something forcefully, he would do it to the extreme. "He wouldn't let you live, and as long as your eyes." "You really know my brother," Tao Yinan said. "If he was really compassionate and didn't take your life, you wouldn't have been able to design anything for him even if you were blind." Tao Longqing said softly. "My design." Tao Yinan suddenly looked up and laughed. "In the end, you're still sure that my brother died under my design? You don't believe my words at all? Am I right?" Tao Longqing was helpless. Then what should I believe? He was too arrogant, self-righteous, conceited, and domineering. Tao Yinan said. "It's his own fault. What does it have to do with me?" Tao Longqing was silent. He knew that Tao Yinan didn't want to tell him the truth at all. "Forget it," Tao Longqing said lightly. "Since you don't want to say it, I won't force you. Rest well." "Dad, you've already forced me to say a lot of things that I don't want to say," Tao Yinan said. "If my eyes can be cured, I promise you that I will help you protect the Tao family. If my eyes can't be cured, I only hope that you can fight for more for yourself." Tao Longqing's expression was very ugly. Tao Yinan was right. At his age, he didn't have a son. The only thing he could rely on was his daughter. If her eyes could be recovered, Tao Longqing believed that with her ability, the real power of the Tao family would still be in their hands. "What do you need me to do?" Tao Longqing asked. He never thought that there would be a day when he would have to negotiate with his daughter. "I need someone to help me do what I need now," Tao Yinan said. "What I need the most now is my eyes." Tao Longqing changed the topic. "Don't you need me to help you find He Shui?" Tao Yinan was startled and didn't answer. "I believe that I can find him faster than the people you arranged," Tao Longqing continued. Tao Yinan was silent for a while. "I won't trouble you. If you insist on doing so, of course, I have no right to interfere. This will depend on whether we can really trust each other." Tao Longqing smiled faintly. "Of course I trust my daughter. It's better if I don't interfere with what you've already arranged." Tao Yinan was satisfied with her father's attitude, but she didn't say anything. "Rest well. I'll go see if the doctor has arrived." Tao Longqing got up and left. Chapter 27:57. Tao Longqing got up and left. The uncertain expression on his face made the servants of the Tao family feel a chill in their hearts. Even if it was his own daughter, Tao Longqing couldn't bear it anymore. Until now, she still refused to tell him the truth. How could he trust her? Even if they were father and daughter, they should find a better balance in their relationship. There was no way they could coexist. Tao Longqing supported Tao Zhu before because Tao Zhu was more like him. Compared to Tao Yinan, Tao Zhu was more obedient. He could see what he was thinking. As for his own daughter, Tao Longqing really couldn't see through her at all. He didn't know what his daughter was thinking. Sometimes, he would be worried about his daughter, and even afraid. This feeling really made him uncomfortable. After all, he was almost 70 years old. He had experienced all kinds of storms and waves. He had crossed all kinds of mountains and rivers. For him to have such feelings when facing his own daughter, it was a little too difficult to talk about. However, the more it was like this, the more it showed a problem. How scary was Tao Yinan? In layman's terms, she couldn't blame her own brother for always wanting to get rid of her. It was because she gave people too much pressure. She was too much of a threat to Tao Zhu. Every time Tao Zhu saw Tao Yinan, he would think that if Tao Yinan wanted to make a move on him one day, what would he use to fight against Tao Yinan? Once Tao Yinan made a move, wouldn't he only be waiting for death? If that was the case, what was the point of playing? It was because of this caution and fear towards Tao Yinan that Tao Zhu always wanted to find a chance to get rid of Tao Yinan. Every time, he would give up because the opportunity wasn't good. Tao Zhu knew very well that if he didn't grasp the opportunity well and couldn't completely get rid of Tao Yinan, then the next person to die would be himself. Therefore, although Tao Yinan seemed to be in danger every time, nothing really happened to her. It was all because of Tao Zhu's scruples. This time, Tao Zhu didn't think about so many messy things. At this point, he didn't plan to continue being polite with Tao Yinan. However, in the end, Tao Yinan was one step ahead of him and made Blackwater betray her. The reason why Blackwater betrayed her was simple. He had been by Tao Zhu's side for so many years. He knew Tao Zhu's every action, every word, and every thought like the back of his hand. He knew Tao Zhu's scruples towards Tao Yinan better than anyone else. If Tao Yinan and Tao Zhu were to be torn apart together and let Blackwater's bet, Blackwater's bet. It's Blackwater's. Tao Zhu wasn't Tao Yinan's opponent. He was completely relying on Tao Longqing to support him from the back. He was completely relying on his status as a man in the family. Tao Longqing really wasn't biased, but he had no choice but to hand over the Tao clan to someone who could lead. At least this would make Tao Longqing feel that the Tao clan still belonged to the Tao clan. But if he were to hand it over to Tao Yinan, even though she was also his biological daughter, the Tao family would no longer belong to the Tao family in the end. Even if a son-in-law married into the family and allowed the child to continue with the surname Tao, it would only be self-deception. It was because of this bit of selfishness that Tao Longqing fully supported Tao Zhu and his son. Moreover, He believed that even if he lost all his teeth in 100 years, as long as he could speak, he would have power in front of Tao Zhu. Tao Yinan didn't like this at all. He dared to say that once Tao Yinan could make decisions in the Tao family, he wouldn't think too much about it. Tao Yinan's desire to control was the strongest he had seen in so many years. Tao Longqing walked to the door and raised his head to look at the setting sun. It was just like him. It seemed that his life was coming to an end. Fate makes fools of people. Tao Longqing took a deep breath and sighed. There was only one way to figure out the situation, and that was to find black water. But he also knew that black water wouldn't be so easy to find. Since he chose to escape and didn't come back, it meant that he would be vigilant and wouldn't be found easily. Or rather, he had left Moscow long ago. He was loyal to the Tao family by sending Tao Yinan back. The greatest tragedy in life was losing a child at an old age. Everything was about to vanish into thin air. Tao Longqing knew that there was no need for him to continue daydreaming. He couldn't keep what didn't belong to him even if he tried his best. At this moment, Tao Longqing even had a strange hope. He actually hoped that Tao Yinan's eyes would go blind so that he wouldn't have to worry about her. But then, he rejected this thought. If Tao Yinan was also done for, then he would really have nothing. If he had nothing, it would mean that the entire Tao family would fight for power. At that time, an old man like him would really have no one to rely on. Thinking about how everything he had would be divided up bit by his brothers and sisters' children, this feeling was quite unpleasant. Tao Longqing would rather have all of this be buried in the hands of his ambitious daughter than let his nephews take advantage of them. Why? These were all things he had worked hard for. If it wasn't for his hard work back then, how could they become the main branch of the Tao family? Perhaps they would have to depend on those cousins for their meals now. And now, those cousins would have to depend on them for their meals. They could become the true masters of the Tao family all because of him, Tao Qinglong. Why should he hand all of this over to others? Even if those people were his biological brothers, it wouldn't do. Just as Tao Longqing was struggling with his thoughts, the ophthalmologist that Tao Yinan asked someone to bring over finally appeared. Tao Longqing saw a few doctors and some people bring over the equipment and immediately went forward to greet them. "Hello, Mr. Tao." Even the famous ophthalmologist here was very respectful to Tao Longqing. Tao Longqing nodded and said, "I'll leave my daughter's eyes to you. As long as she's safe, I'll satisfy you no matter what you ask for." "Mr. Tao, you're too polite. Miss Tao is your daughter. Of course, we'll do our best to give Miss Tao the best treatment." Tao Longqing nodded and said, "I'm relieved to hear that. I hope you won't disappoint me." "Don't worry, Mr. Tao. We'll do our best." Although the doctor didn't give a definite guarantee in the end, Tao Longqing's heart was more or less relieved. After watching them enter Tao Yinan's room, Tao Longqing left alone. He didn't want to see anyone now. He just wanted to be alone for a while. Tao Longqing knew very well that at this moment, he believed that his brothers and sisters were thinking about how to deal with the crisis this time. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If it were him, he wouldn't miss such an opportunity to seize power for himself. Now, they should belong to the same alliance, and Tao Longqing, who was originally in high demand, was excluded. In such a big Tao family, the dignified head of the family, Tao Longqing, couldn't find anyone to discuss things with. How sad was this? At this moment, he really missed his wife. That virtuous woman who could help him make decisions. Chapter 2758. Big Brother, now that things have come to this, I think it's time for you to say something. Tao Wucha savored the aged pu'er tea as he expressed his determination. "I think Wucha is right," Tao Feng said. Ceramic Phoenix also said, "If you, as the big brother, don't say anything about this, then we can only swallow our anger." The room was filled with the aroma of tea. 1,000-year-old tree roots were used for the table, rare red sandalwood for the chair, and a purple sand 9-headed Yong Mei tea set made by Mr. Gu, the master teapot maker. The teapot was designed with dried roses in the shape of 6 cups and 6 plates. The mouth of the teapot was shaped like a trumpet, and the water spilled out with great force. The handle of the teapot rose up, winding and strong, and comfortable to hold. The body of the teapot was decorated with rose flowers. The petals were plump, and the patterns were clear. The sculpting skill was superb, and the atmosphere was elegant. Tao Mingxue liked to drink tea, and he also liked to study tea. He also liked to collect tea. Therefore, this tea set, which was inseparable from tea, was deeply studied and collected. He dared to use this purple sand teapot, which could not be seen on the market, as a teapot to receive guests. It was obvious that there was something else in his collection. I'm not the only one who has the final say on this matter, Tao Mingxue said calmly. In this large tea room, the only person who was truly proficient in the art of tea was probably himself. Big brother, you really do have to say this, Tao Qianhu said. You say it's up to you. We brothers and sisters admit that you have the final say. You say it's up to you. When father passed away, he said that Long Qing was smooth and did things without losing his edge. He was the most suitable person to take over the Tao family. He wanted us all to help him, Tao Mingxue said. Don't you remember? Brother, how many years ago was that? Tao Yu shook his head disapprovingly. 30 years ago, right? Tao Mingxue said calmly. Father passed away 31 years ago. 31 years. We've done enough for third brother. Tao Wucha was somewhat unhappy. When father passed away, she was still very young, in her 20s. She didn't know anything at all, but she was tricked into helping third brother. As long as third brother could hold on, the family could hold on. All these years, Tao Wucha's heart had always been uncomfortable with this matter. Why should she only be an accessory? She didn't feel it when she was young, but from the day Tao Longqing handed over the leadership position to Tao Zhu, she realized that they were no longer a family. When Tao Longqing handed over his real power to the next generation, the status of everyone else would deteriorate day by day. This was an unchangeable conclusion and fact. Therefore, she really couldn't wait any longer. She didn't want to be kicked out of the Tao family's circle of power when she was only in her 50s. We should learn to calm down. Long Qing isn't doing well either. Tao Mingxue said, just as he said, he just lost his son, and his daughter has become like this. We should give him some time. The corners of Tao Yinan's mouth curled up into a sneer. This is interesting. We watched Tao Yinan grow up. We know what she does. Everyone was stunned. If you believe what happened to her, then you've lived for so many years in vain. Tao Feng continued, I don't believe that something has really happened to that girl. Tao Qianhu nodded in agreement with his second sister. That's right. If something had happened to that girl, Tao Zhu wouldn't have died in a foreign land and couldn't even bring his body back. At this point, the few of them looked at each other and kept quiet. In this matter, they really admired Tao Longqing. No wonder their father had chosen him back then. It was because he really was more profound than all of them. Everything that had happened in the past was not mentioned, but this matter alone was enough to see it. Who could be so calm after hearing that their son had died? There were probably not many people in the world who could do that, but Tao Longqing could. He didn't react at all. At least on the surface, he could be so calm. It was unbelievable that he could be so calm. It was hard to believe that this was the calmness that a normal person should have. This was what made Tao Longqing so terrifying. No one would ever be able to see through his true thoughts on the surface. This was also the reason why his brothers and sisters were apprehensive of him. A person who always smiled at others was the scariest person. This was something their father had taught them back in the day, and among their siblings, there was one such person. That person was Tao Longqing. Over the years, Tao Longqing had been as low-key as possible. Some of the Tao family's servants even mistakenly thought that he had become their son, Tao Zhu's puppet. Little did they know that the real puppet was Tao Zhu, and Tao Longqing was the one who pulled strings for the puppet. He was still the one behind the scenes. It was just that no one knew or saw it. This was why the siblings were so wary of Tao Longqing. They could never guess what Tao Longqing was thinking, and they could never know what Tao Longqing would do next. Just like now, something had happened to Tao Yinan, and Tao Zhu was dead. None of them knew what Tao Longqing would do next. Brother, we may not be sure what third brother is going to do next, but there is one thing we can be sure of, Tao Hu said. Third brother will not be willing to hand over the world in his hands to our descendants. These words were what really provoked Tao Mingxue. In the entire Tao family, Tao Mingxue had a clear conscience. He dared to say that his family had contributed the most to the Tao family. He was 8 years older than Tao Longqing. This meant that he had contributed 8 years more than Tao Longqing. His eldest son, Tao En, was 10 years older than Tao Zhu. His second son, Tao Kong, was 6 years older than Tao Zhu. His third son, Tao Yi, was 2 years older than Tao Zhu. The four of them had contributed 26 years more to the Tao family than Tao Longqing and his son had contributed to the Tao family. But in the end, Tao Longqing and his son were the ones in charge of the Tao family. What about him? Perhaps he still had some say. After he died, whether it was Tao An or Tao Kong, not to mention Tao Yi, what were the three of them in front of Tao Zhu? How could Tao Zhu give them the real power of the Tao family because they were cousins? The pottery figurine would only devour the power in their hands bit by bit. Sooner or later, they would be left with nothing. Because everything they had would be completely devoured by the pottery statue. Just like what they were doing now. In the past 31 years, the 6 siblings had done one thing together, which was to devour all the real power in the hands of their cousins into their own hands. This way, the Tao family would be better and more stable in their own hands. Only when they were in their own hands could they sleep soundly and eat sweetly. This was something without a doubt. Everyone was saying why they had to grasp the power in their hands tightly, because they all knew how it felt to have a stable heart. This was something that could not be explained, but it was also something that no one could not understand. Just look at those government officials. Why were they so unwilling when they retired? Because after they retired, they would have no power at all. Now, the situation that Tao Mingxue and the others were facing was similar to those government officials. It was a topic about retirement. No one wanted to end their career of controlling power. This was human instinct, and also human nature. Chapter 2759. Tao Zifeng saw that Tao Mingxue was silent, so she raised her hand to signal the other brothers and sisters to stop talking. Big brother knows it very well. He knows it better than we do, Tao Zifeng said. We don't need to say or ask more questions. Even if he doesn't think for himself, he will think for Tao An and the other 2 brothers. Tao Mingxue had 3 sons. The oldest was almost 50 years old, and the youngest was 42. They were all in the prime of their lives. If everything ended now, wouldn't it be a little too early? Tao Mingxue was already 76 years old. He had truly reached the age where he had no desires. It was rare for people to reach 80 years old. Although they were all martial arts experts who could prolong their lives, 80 years old was not considered old to them. But in the entire human world, 80 was indeed a rare number. Whether it was now or in ancient times, people who could live to 80 years old were not few, but not many either. Even if people's living conditions were better now, and people were living longer, 70 or 80 years old was still an age where people should celebrate their birthday. From this point of view, it could be seen that Tao Mingxue was already an old man. What was there to be competitive about in old age? Some things could not be taken with you when you were born. Tao Mingxue had already seen through this at his age. But he could not see through his children and grandchildren. 40 or 50 years old was the time when people's desire for power was strong. This could be seen from Tao Wucha. Although Tao Wucha was the aunt of Tao An's generation, she was only in her 50s. If even she was so reluctant to give up the power in her hands, how could Tao An and the others tolerate the loss of power in their hands? They could not tolerate it. They absolutely could not tolerate it. I know what you want me to do, Tao Mingxue said. It's nothing more than letting me, the older brother, take the lead. Tao Qianhu smiled. Big brother, you are the big brother to all of us. We will listen to you. Even if the third brother is the head of the Tao family, I think he should listen to you when it comes to matters between us brothers. I agree, Tao Wucha said. He is the younger brother in front of big brother. There are some things he has to listen to. I'm afraid that at this critical moment, he won't acknowledge me as much as you think. Tao Mingxue shook his head helplessly. Then there's nothing we can do about it. Even if we agree to it, I'm afraid third brother won't be able to handle it, right? Tao Hawu said. Before Tao Mingxue could say anything, Ceramic Phoenix said, of course he can't. This is no longer something he can decide. We support Big Brother. Whatever Big Brother says, it's up to him. Big Brother, you have to be fair in this matter. You can't be too biased towards your own family just because of Tao An and his brothers. Tao Wucha seemed to have already seen the result of victory. They were looking forward to dividing up the Tao family's possessions. Divide it all up, and leave nothing behind. The clay figurine was already dead, so what else did they need? Was he really going to give it to Tao Yinan? Dream on, don't even think about it. Even their two aunts, who were also women, would not agree. The Tao family could never be handed over to someone like her to control. That would truly be a tragedy for the Tao family. If third brother really wants Tao Yinan to control the family, then where should we go? Big brother, you have to think carefully. Ceramic Phoenix said, we'll all listen to your arrangements. It's nothing more than leaving a way out for our children. That's right, Big brother. If Tao Yinan is in power, she won't leave any way out for our children. As Tao Hawu spoke, he took out a cigarette and lit it. Tao Mingxue glanced at him. If you want to smoke, go outside. Tao Hawu was startled. He looked around and saw no ashtray, so he unceremoniously put out the cigarette in the 9-headed young maize teacup. Based on the price of this tea set, this teacup was at least 1,000,000 yuan, and that was the price from more than a decade ago. Tao Mingxue couldn't help but frown, but he couldn't say anything. Tao Hawu was such a bore. I support everyone to divide the Tao family's possessions equally. We'll all be in charge of the Tao family. At worst, when we old bones die, it'll be up to the children to fight over it. Tao Wucha smiled. That'll depend on their own abilities. Tao Wucha's words clearly had a selfish motive. She was the youngest of the siblings. Other than Tao Qianhu, who was only a year older than her, the youngest Tao Hawu was 7 or 8 years older than her. And she and Tao Mingxue were 17 or 18 years apart. What kind of concept was that? Tao Mingxue had died more than 10 years earlier than him. Tao Mingxue glanced at Tao Wucha. When I'm 100 years old, will you help your 3 nephews? Of course. Tao Wucha didn't even think about it. She had no intention of helping, so there was no need to think about it. She was already being polite by not stealing from them. Tao Mingxue saw that she answered so quickly, and a cold smile appeared on his face. Since ancient times, people's hearts have been the most unpredictable. Tao Wucha only came back to her senses when she heard this. Big brother, what do you mean? You make it sound like I have a selfish motive. I didn't say that. Tao Mingxue smiled. Don't take it personally. Tao Wucha's expression changed when she heard this. He was just short of naming her. Could they still play nicely? Wucha, Big brother didn't mean that. Tao Feng raised a hand to signal for her younger sister to stop talking nonsense. If they started fighting before they even started their plan, then what was the point of it? Tao Wucha suppressed her anger. Second sister, I'll give you face and take Big brother's words as child's talk carries no harm. But if he continues to bully me like this, then don't blame me for not respecting the old and loving the young. Tao Qianhu smiled and eased his emotions. Don't say it like you know what it means to respect the old and loving the young. You've never respected me. Tao Wucha didn't have a good temper when facing this older brother who was only a year older than her. If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. All right, We didn't come here to fight. Tao Yu said. I believe Big Brother has already made his decision. Let's listen to him now. Since they were here, they wanted to conspire. So Tao Wucha wasn't going to turn hostile just because of a few words. When she heard Tao Yu's words, she didn't say anything else. As long as Tao Mingxue could give them a satisfactory answer, then she didn't care about what had just happened. I won't let Long Qing do whatever he wants. Tao Mingxue felt like he only needed to make things clear. And then it's up to us, Tao Mingxue said calmly. I can't guarantee anything, and neither can you. Tao Wucha was stunned. Clearly, she wasn't satisfied with this answer at all. Then what are you going to say to him? Tao Feng didn't seem satisfied with her brother's answer either. Tao Mingxue shook his head. I don't need to talk to him. He'll talk to me. Big Brother, I'm afraid this isn't very kind of you. Tao Qianhu narrowed his eyes. Are you trying to see how much third brother can give you? Tao Yu snorted. Big Brother, you're being a bit of a fence-sitter. Tao Mingxue slowly shook his head. It's not what you think. I have my own plans. Tao Wucha was the first to lose it. She stood up and said goodbye. Then I hope Big Brother can give us a share of your plans. But you're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.